2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining.
One show. One mission.
Break ends. 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff, coming soon to a station near you. One show. One mission.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Rebound, Drew Holiday, 4 seconds to go. Kick out Jalen. Can they get to him to commit the foul? They cannot, and it's over. It's over. The Boston Celtics swarm the floor.
Sean Grande on Celtics radio, and the Celtics sweep the Pacers. They are into the NBA Finals. Andrew Perloff, good morning. This is the moment for the Celtics. How many more chances are you realistically going to get? I know they are a good team. They're always in the mix in the Tatum and Brown era. But you're looking at most likely the Dallas Mavericks on the other side who have a 3-0 lead on the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you are the Boston Celtics, this is the time. If you're getting banner number 18, it has to be this year.
Well, yes, unless one in the next 6 or 7 years where they win the East, they can pull off. What are you talking about? Why this year? What I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of pressure here to win if you're the Celtics, but you're clearly going back next year. This is the Eastern Conference. Look at who they just had to beat.
I know, but look at
is there anyone else coming to the East that I don't know about?
Okay, but they will tell you, or people will tell you, that what the Celtics have done is not that impressive because the people they went through and also the injuries that those teams had. You don't know that Giannis is going to be hurt next year. You don't know that Joel
I do.
Embiid
I
is
know
gonna
the
get
coach
hurt
of the Bucks
next
is.
year. Well,
I know. Oh, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid. I do know as a fact. A fact as much as I know my own name is Andrew Perloff that Joel Embiid is going to get hurt next year. Of course he's going to get hurt next year.
You never know what Miami has up their sleeve.
I mean, how long could that party last?
To pencil yourself in for the finals again. It's one thing to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's great. You get a nice participation trophy for that if you're the Boston Celtics with their kind of history. You know, you could be the Indiana Pacers. You make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and people are like, wow, ahead of schedule. Look at you. Great season. You make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics, and people say, yeah, we know. We expect you to be there. Now you've got to get to the finals. This is the toughest spot for a team to be in, one where you have all the expectations and the weight of the world on you. They're going to get Kristaps Porzingis back. They have 9 days until the finals start. There's no excuse here for the Celtics. This has got to be it.
Except there is, I think, in most NBA fans' mind, a seed of doubt about the Celtics team. Who is the mentally tougher team? You might say the Celtics have more talent. You might say they're the best team. But I think that a lot of people out there think the Luka-Kyrie combo is a lot tougher than the Jaylen Brown-Jason Tatum combo. It almost is like the other players on the Celtics are going to have to carry those two in a big moment. Because what do we know about the Celtics in the finals? We know about their collapse against the Warriors, and I'm not sure a lot of people have gotten over that. So yeah, I think in a lot of fans' minds, that is the Celtics team, the team that collapsed against the Warriors. Tatum will not show up, and Jaylen Brown will turn the ball over.
Okay, but see, again, that's where this is the moment for the Celtics, because you have that in your not-so-distant memory, because that was the 2022 finals. You have that to build on, to learn from, and you're telling me that, listen, Tatum, Brown, but it's not just about them. Drew Holiday has been a phenomenal addition to this team, and honestly, he could have won the, whatever you call it, Larry Brown Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to, because the point totals for Tatum and Brown were like 30 each, basically, that they averaged in this series. But Drew Holiday, very fitting that he ends and they close out the series with him with a steal, because that's been him. So you have the defensive firepower with Derek White and everyone on the team, basically on the Celtics defense. And if you're going to go mentally tough here, Tatum, Brown, I know there's scar tissue, but versus Luka and Kyrie, okay, we've got the evidence with Kyrie Irving that he's a big-time player. But
oh, my God.
Luka hasn't won.
Luka's trash-talking his way to the finals. First of all, and it's not Kyrie. It's Luka saying something to Rudy Gobert. It's Luka saying something to Anthony Edwards. That's where the mental toughness is. You don't think, if you could get to Rudy Gobert,
come on,
he's easy. But if you could get to Edwards, why on earth do you think Luka's not going to say something in half Slovenian, half English and get to Jason Tatum? That's why if I'm the Celtics and I have all these brilliant assistant coaches who are all getting jobs, I am making sure that you keep Jason Tatum out of earshot from Luka Doncic, who I think is emerging as a Larry Bird-like trash talker. Like, I think he's getting in people's heads, and that's why he's dominating the end of the games. I just worry about that. On paper, everything you say is right. This is the year for the Celtics. They have all-stars everywhere. Yeah. They're getting Porzingis back. None of that's going to matter if they're not mentally ready for the moment, and that's what I'm really worried about for this team. Because you're right, Drew Holiday is a huge difference. I love what you said about that.
He's mentally tough. He's a champion.
Yes, but Drew Holiday alone cannot do that. You're going to need a lot of Tatum and a lot of Brown. You're going to need their A games to beat Dallas, and I am not sure they're going to deliver that A game.
Interesting. 855-212-4227. You see this as more a mental game. I see it more as a matchup game, and I'm seeing, if you're asking me, who's going to guard Kyrie and who's going to guard Luka, which is things that the Timberwolves are still trying to figure out as they're down 0-3, you have a lot of options here if you're the Celtics. You really do, I think, because you have Drew Holiday who can cover Kyrie Irving, and then name the rest of the guys who could cover Luka Doncic. You can throw waves at guys at him if you don't just want to give it to Tatum or give it to Brown.
Give me a name. Who's covering him?
I'll tell you why. Derek White probably is. I think they're all going to take
Derek White
turns.
Is slow and small. Luka will own Derek White.
I don't think so. I think that if Derek White isn't working, then put Tatum on him. If
Tatum will get 5 fouls in 30
working.
seconds on Luka.
I see. Then the Celtics have been this awesome defensive team all year. It's not like they just flipped a switch. This is who they are.
I just worry about, and I do really worry about Tatum in foul trouble with Luka. Can't you see him getting a couple easy calls and taking him out of his offensive game? Luka's a problem. He's just a problem he's too fast for big men and he's too big for guards. The question, here's the main problem. If you watch this T-Wolves series against Mavs, right? It seems like every point they're like, the T-Wolves are like, let's switch Cat or Rudy Gobert onto Kyrie Irving. That's a smart plan. Like, what are you doing, you lazy T-Wolves? It's unbelievable. So the Celtics are going to do everything they can not to let if Kyrie Irving gets Al Horford on an island, don't even play out the play. Just hand 2 points to the Mavs. So I think the Celtics have to avoid getting their big men in space. That's what's the big problem with the T-Wolves is they've gotten these two clunky big men out by the 3-point line, and the Mavs are just cooking them. So it's a team game, but I worry about Luka specifically because I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Mavs fan. I don't like this mid range. I'm sick of seeing 8-foot jumpers. I like a different style of basketball.
Okay.
Dribble. Luka's got a guy on his hip, 7-foot jumper, bang.
Okay, but it's been a lot more passing. You got to give them some
No,
credit.
God, are you kidding me? It's dribble. Kyrie dribble, cook somebody. Luka dribble,
Then
cook somebody.
How is PJ Washington having this great series? How do we even know these other guys? It's not like that. I think that's an old stereotype about what Luka was playing like. I don't think he's playing like that.
His usage numbers are, I'm sure I don't have them.
The usage numbers are huge, but he is giving the ball up.
He definitely is, but his game is just like a plotting, I'm going to just back you down or I'm going to get you on the outside. It's a very one-on-one oriented game.
He's strong.
He's ridiculous. He's impossible to stop. I've been staying up at night diagramming plays, Maggie. I can't figure out how to stop him. The Celtics, it's interesting. They have a week. I am sure they're going to go to the lab and say, how do we stop this guy? And I'm really curious what defense they throw at him.
I think you're going to see a lot. I don't think it's just going to be one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that the Celtics do have the bodies. And again, we talk about, the Celtics, they made it through the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference was down. They were, hit everybody when they had players who were out, including Tyrese Halliburton, who didn't play in the last 2 games, even though they were tight, close games. Well, they didn't have Porzingis. Celtics haven't had one of their big stars from this year and one of their big weapons, and now they're going to get him back. So it's not like everyone's been at full strength.
Yeah, although Porzingis is another thing. Like, do they really want Porzingis on the court? Because the Mavs are going to pick on him as well. It's a catch-22 with these big guys.
Yeah, but, Porzingis, there's a reason why Kevin Durant called him the unicorn, right? He does have a different type of skill set than what the Timberwolves bigs have. And I know Karl Anthony Towns is a three-point shooter, but he can't hit the ocean right now.
Yeah, I just worry about defensively. Like these big, Rudy Gobert being the defensive player of the year is the ultimate irony of the NBA.
Yeah, it's not aging well in this series.
No, it's not aging well. And they had to take him off the court last year in the playoffs. It's just a general problem that the voters for this dumb award can't figure out. If you're a rim protector, you got to stay near the rim. Otherwise, you're in trouble. So it feels like the Mavs have a solution for everything. You have to admit, okay, getting past the Timberwolves is a much more impressive feat than sweeping the Pacers.
Well, yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Because Tyrese Halliburton was out these last 2 games, and I love what's going on in our chat right now. Up and early. And Adam, I should say, if you want to watch the show, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, where our own Andrew Kaplan said, Celtics just got burned by Andrew Nembhard, Luka going for 50 every night.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a strategy. That could also be a strategy, which is let Luka do his thing, try to shut down Kyrie Irving, and try to shut down and handle everyone else. And maybe that's a strategy that the Celtics try to use for a game and see if it works. All right, let Luka get his. And then 50 points, that's impressive. It's not going to win you a game.
Well, Luka doesn't do anything until the last 8 minutes of the game. You can do whatever you want to Luka. Luka has not missed a shot in the last 3 minutes of a game since I can't remember.
Okay,
so he's going to cook you at the end. That's the problem. Don't keep it close because the Mavs are going to, the Mavs seem like a very, very solid late game team, especially because of Luka. Luka does not feel pressure. He's got sort of that Eli Manning thing going on.
Right.
Get the last 2 minutes, he wants the ball so badly, where I just don't know if the Celtics have that guy.
Well, I think they might now because look what they did last night. Even if you don't think the Pacers were a worthy opponent, right?
I don't.
Okay. They kept them from scoring for 3.5 minutes last night at the end of the game in a closeout. The Pacers.
Yeah, Aaron Nesmith missed a jumper. Come on.
That's still impressive. They're still NBA players.
No. That was not. There was nothing to me that was impressive about the series because once Halliburton went out, I feel like the Pacers were not themselves. So I don't take anything
There were
from
still close games and tight games where I think if Rick Carlisle calls it, let's be honest, Pacers did win game 1. So let's not all forget that. If they can inbound the ball, they actually win game 1. And I think they should have won game 3 too. And the reason why I say that is because, listen, Rick Carlisle is a great coach. He knows more basketball than we'll ever know. I get that. But I didn't understand why you wouldn't call a timeout for the final possession there. It's one thing, that's you. You don't want the Celtics to get their defense set. You're this high-octane offense, but you're missing your best player. Organize, run a play. But again, that's me, and I was not second-guessing this. I first guessed this. I would always call timeout. I'm a coach, I don't trust it, and I'm sure that would burn me, but I'm also a foul-up 3 person. So I'm a little more conservative in sort of how I look at basketball.
T-Wolf, same thing, too. That's a definite also call a timeout. But I mean, so you're somewhat impressed by beating the Pacers.
I'm impressed by the Celtics, period, full stop. I'm impressed by, listen, you can say they haven't played anybody. They've also only lost 2 games in the postseason. It's not like they're going 7 games with, lesser talent.
I am not impressed. To me, none of this carries over against Dallas. 12-2 against this particular Heat team, this Cavs team, and this Pacers team says next to nothing to me. Like, none of these teams would have a chance in the West. So, yeah, the Celtics definitely could win the series. Don't get me wrong. They're a great team, but they have not seen anything like this. This is an incredible step up in competition. Honestly, this Pacers team probably wouldn't be here if the Knicks could have stayed relatively healthy. Let's be honest.
Yep, sure. Okay, that's fine. But again, I don't know if the Nuggets actually get past the Timberwolves. Are the Mavericks here? Are the Mavericks on a 3-0 lead? So we can say that about each side. We could say that about the different matchups and who got what kind of path to the final, and here we are. EJ, you say this is going to be a sweep. You said you're going to get smoked in the finals. Is this for the Boston Celtics?
Oh, that's for the Celtics as a salty Knicks fan.
Okay. It's
happy
personal.
that the Indiana Pacers are out. I want to see if Halliburton wore he wore a nice sweater yesterday. It was not the Reggie Miller choke sweater. I think he's going to put that away for a little while. So as a Knicks fan, I was happy to see the Pacers get dispatched very quickly. Now for the Celtics, all right, now I need them to go home as a Knicks fan. I don't get any Celtics celebrations here in New York either.
I thought you said that Halliburton looked terrible. We just had this
I'm being nice on the air.
He looked like a hip Mr. Rogers in Game 3.
Halliburton never looks good in the outfit.
Oh, I love he looks like
a hip Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, these sweaters.
Who aspires for that?
These sweaters he's wearing probably cost $3,000. I mean, they are. Maybe they're not for everyone, but he looks like a sort of like, oh man, that professor can play some basketball. He's wearing these little dirty glasses. I love Halliburton's look.
Oh my God, what is this, Pearl? Are you serious? I'm looking at this picture again. This is too big.
Are we talking about a red sweater vest? What are you guys talking about?
He's wearing
a yellow.
He wore like a Pacers yellow cardigan.
Cardigan, but it's too big. And he tucked in the sweater. Who tucks in a sweater inside of khakis?
Well, you know who.
Next level.
Jim Harbaugh.
Next level.
I know.
Called the Harbaugh. All right. I think we had a couple things here for you. One, are you impressed at all by what the Celtics have done? They just swept their way into the finals, the NBA finals. Does that mean nothing to you? Are you not entertained? And then secondly, is it going to be more mental when it comes to the Celtics winning this finals, or is it actually about the matchups? You think it's more mental than anything.
I just felt so bad for poor Rudy Gobert. When Luka's talking trash as he's about to put the game-winning 3 in his face.
Yeah.
What you think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can hold up to that kind of confidence? That's what I worry about. I think the Celtics are a better team. I think the mental edge might go to Luka and Kyrie.
I mean, if you are this far into your NBA career as Tatum and Brown and you get thrown off because of trash talk, I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, come on. You know
ridiculous.
You know this happens, Maggie.
Tatum went to Duke. I mean, what do you think everyone's probably on you from that moment, and he now plays for the Celtics. Like, the Kyrie thing, that's definitely going to be a storyline because the Kyrie, how it ended in Boston, he asked for a trade to go there. It couldn't have gone worse. It ended horribly. It's continued on where he was playing with the Nets, giving people the finger and wiping his feet on the mascot. And there's a deep dislike between Kyrie Irving and the city of Boston and vice versa. But besides that, you really think trash talk is going to get these guys off their game?
Luka has got that Joker thing. He grew up overseas. Like, he doesn't care. He has no intimidation of the finals. He reminds me much of Joker. Like, you are not going to see his blood pressure go up at all on this stage. He's going to have no problem with this.
He's screaming like a maniac out there. I've seen him be emotional.
He's not going to feel any pressure at all. And I could tell, it's just different. It's just, I mean, you think does he look nervous to you? You don't think Tatum and Brown are going to be nervous for this series? They definitely are. All the weight of the world is on them. It's going to be hard for them to play their A game. I think Luka has nothing but A game at this point. He'll miss a bunch of shots, but he's still going to have all the confidence in the world. I really worry that Jason Tatum, I know what you're saying. He's been in the league a long time, but do you really feel like he's 100% locked in confidence-wise? I do not.
855-212-4227, so we can throw that up on the socials. You are welcome to watch the show. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. SiriusXM, channel 158 is another great way to listen to the show. We've heard there may be some issues on the app this morning, so we're trying to get that all worked out. The absolutely free to download and crystal clear Odyssey app. Listen, not immune. Sometimes the ones and zeros get a little crossed. We're told on our affiliate lines, you are able to listen. So some big affiliates that have us, San Francisco, Seattle, Atlanta, all of those affiliates you can find. You can listen to us crystal clear. That's just to name a few. Again, 855-212-4227. Maggie and Perloff. Coming up, got a question for you about one of the big stars in sports. Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
There we go, a little Grateful Dead to honor the memory of Bill Walton, who passed away at 71, sadly. I think it's been really interesting to see the whole sports world react. Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame broadcaster, someone who we got to interview, both of us have. He was all around the Dan Patrick Show a lot because he knew Dan pretty well.
Sure.
I'd seen him over the years in person at different things. Incredible life, just a totally unique journey. Not like any other athlete. I think that is one thing that we can all say about Bill Walton with confidence.
Yeah, people keep saying, things like one of a kind and icon and legend, and we sometimes overuse those words. It really does apply, though, to Bill Walton. I heard Rick Carlisle, who played with Walton on that 85-86 Celtics team, say he's like history, like walking around amongst us, It's like he's like an event that was just walking around. And we got to tap in a little bit into like Bill Walton's positivity. I always am so impressed with people. We can talk about the basketball and that speaks for itself. And an MVP and a Sixth Man of the Year and winning the 2 titles at UCLA and all of that. But the people who personally are dealing with something that is so devastating, his foot injuries, the back injuries, admitting that he was contemplating suicide because he was in so much pain from his multiple back surgeries and things like that, and yet to be so positive for other people. I'm always so impressed and amazed by that, because when you're living that day to day in that type of pain, you don't want to be positive, let alone to pick up other people.
Yeah.
And he was relentlessly positive. You and I did get a chance to interview him most recently in Houston at the Final Four. And those were unique interviews.
Yeah.
You would prep like 20 questions for Bill Walton and get 2 questions in.
Interview is not the word. Exactly.
Yes.
I was thinking, I saw him in 2001, or no, it was 2002. I was at the San Diego Super Bowl because the Eagles were supposed to be there. I was working for the NFL at the time. And this gigantic guy rides up on his bike. And we said, hey, we were doing a shoot. And he said, hey, do you want to get in? He's like, no, I honestly, I can't. My back is in so much pain today. I can't get off the bike. And that's one thing you notice about him, too, how he handled himself. Like, that was a very serious issue. And you're absolutely right. Like, he could have gone into self-pity. And the fact that he came out on the other side of that and was of service, and the great documentary about his life and how he came out the other side is really an inspiration. I had no idea he was sick. I think the cancer diagnosis hit us all by surprise. I really did not expect to see any kind of headline like this.
No.
Because he's as a broadcaster, he's been full of life the last few years. He's been super funny and interesting and different and just pure Bill Walton.
Absolutely. He was calling the Final Four for Westwood One. I mean, the last 4 years, ever since John Thompson passed away, and he took that over. And so if you're a huge radio fan, which you might be if you're listening to the show and listening to us, I mean, you always left like a Bill Walton interview like, man, what was that? That was great. And then you listen back, you're like, it's the feeling of it, And then also think about it, even today, this would not happen. He's went to over 850 dead shows. Like, imagine being synonymous also with this one of the all-time bands, Americana, and that was such a big part of his life too. So, for those who want to remember Bill Walton, you're welcome to do so. We're asking you what part of his big life, larger than life, will you remember most about Walton? Is it the UCLA days? Is it the NBA, although that was shortened, but man, he really maximized what he was able to get out of a very short NBA career because of injuries? Is it the broadcasting? Is it the Grateful Dead? So many things. 855-212-4227.
I know he took a title away from my town, and the Sixers were up. I've seen many, many highlights of the series. The Sixers were up 2-0 on the Blazers, and he took over.
Yep.
And it was 1977. I think people don't know. He was like he was like Kareem. Like, he was dominant, and he could pass the ball, kind of like Jokic does now. He was really, really good. That kind of stinks because Dr. J should have won his first title, but Bill Walton got in the way.
Yeah,
so a bit of a sport. Anyone won with the Celtics, which I don't like either. But I'm willing to look past all that. But that's out of respect for him as a player. I don't think everyone knows that he was dominant. I mean, dominant, like all-time great.
Well, it's funny because if you were just going by numbers, especially by today's standards, you'd be like, he won the MVP and is averaging 19 points a game and 13 rebounds. It's like, it's not these blow-you-away numbers, but that's where the sort of magic of Bill Walton was, right? He was the intellectual basketball player, the passing, as you mentioned, like Jokic. And then when he got with Larry Bird, it was like, I mean, no wonder that was such a dominant team, the Celtics 85-86. Jack McCallum, who chronicled a lot of Bill Walton's career, is going to join us at the 9 o'clock Eastern hour. 855-212-4227. So remember Bill Walton. Jay is in Nashville, has a thought on the Western Conference Finals. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning. I'm still at work, so sorry if you hear some noise in the background. But as far as Bill Walton, I mean, I'm from Tucson, so, we enjoyed having his son at the University of Arizona. And I'm not old enough to remember his playing career. The main thing I remember from his playing career when he threw the shoe at the rim to stop to block the ball or whatever, which is funny. I don't know what to me. But the main thing I remember about him, he's the big picture guy like me. You can tell he's not a care in the world because he's too busy looking at the big picture, and that's what I'll probably always remember about Bill Walton and everything. But as far as the Western Conference Final. As far as Kyrie, I mean, and I was one of the ones getting on him, dogging him out and everything. And I'm just, calling to give an apology to him. Because, it's good to see, like, somebody finally land on their feet. And it seems like that's what's going on with Kyrie, which is kind of a good thing to watch. I mean, he really does look like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't hear any weird stuff. I don't know, complaining. But it's not what we're not hearing from him. It's just what you see, how he's playing and how he's, he's playing with his team. Seems like they all enjoy each other. It doesn't seem like there's some kind of friction and stuff like that.
Jay, this is amazing that you're calling in while you're on the floor. What are you zipping in?
Is that a power drill? I feel like I hear a power drill.
Yeah, I'm putting together. Okay, I'm on one side I'm putting together the manifolds for the Nissan Murano, and then on the other side I'm putting together the manifolds for the Nissan Pathfinder and the I forget the other one that we're doing, too. We got 3 different trucks that we're doing over here.
Okay.
We only got a couple more minutes. I'll put together a couple more manifolds. Sorry about that.
No, this is amazing. We love when we get to hear from our listeners and to get to dip in a little bit to what you're doing. And I drive a Nissan. So how about that?
Come on, I call you guys like when I'm shopping at Costco. You can hear the shopping cart in the background.
When you're in the drive-thru for Mickey D's getting a McGriddle.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Yeah, with cops with the guns drawn and everything. I'm yelling at the cops like, get out of the way, let me get to my McGriddle. You know what I mean?
Well, that was an epic morning when there was, I think, some kind of bank robbery or something going on.
No, somebody at a hotel was trying to shoot somebody else. And the police was out with, like, rifles. They wasn't even having handguns. It was the weirdest thing, but I was worried about my McGriddle and everything. But, hey, one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Sure.
Like, I know it's going to be Dallas and Boston. I'm a lifelong Boston hater. You know what I mean? But, I mean, lifelong Celtics hater. I always want to visit Boston. So I don't want to, like, say something bad and get jumped as soon as I get off the plane. But
Donnie Wahlberg's actually waiting at Logan Airport to kick your ass.
No, Bill Burr's going to be waiting on me just to bust on me, like, the whole time I'm in Boston. But, no, to me, it's going to be, like, a boring finals with these two teams. And I don't even think the Boston. I think the Boston crowd's going to know better not to mess with Kyrie because you see what happened when Anthony Edwards tried to call him out.
Yeah,
it was kind of like, you know what I mean. You might want to leave him alone. You know what I mean? Don't
Jay,
it's a great. So mess with.
It's a great point. go back to to your shift. You're almost done. Thank you for checking in. You know that we love hearing your perspective on stuff, Jay's in Nashville.
Wait, so he's on a line that's building a car?
Yeah.
That's his new job?
Yeah. Well, he's like, we know Jay. Like, he's always working towards something bigger,
So somebody's car someone's going to eventually drive a Nissan that he's making right now, and he's distracted breaking down the matchups in the finals. That worries me just a little bit.
That's the car I want.
He's a multitasker, guys.
He's doing two manifolds at once? And first of all, I had to Google what a manifold was. Does everyone know that? A manifold, I thought it was like a little wallet that like a man carried with money in it.
Like a merce?
Like a billfold, but a manifold. I had no idea. He said it like we're not car people necessarily, but does everyone know what a manifold is?
Wait, you looked it up, so tell us what it is.
A manifold is I lost it already. Okay, what is a manifold? A manifold is the automated context and a crucial component that plays a pivotal role in your car's engine. Has something to do with the way the fuel and the air come in.
Yeah, it's important. I would 100% drive any car that Jay put together. He's one of the smartest people we have calling our show. Phil says that Nissan's only going to go in reverse.
You're going to hit D and it's going to go straight backwards?
Well, if there's a Nissan recall soon, we know the blame.
We traced it back to our Nashville plant on the morning of May 28th.
Oh, no. Jay's
On the
got
podcast
this.
version of Maggie and Perloff, there's a man who's on the assembly line who called in to complain about Jason Tatum.
6:32 a.m. Eastern.
P, we got a subpoena for the air checks of 6:20 to 6:40 a.m. Eastern. Could you cut that for us?
All I can say is thank God he's not in Seattle making airplanes for Boeing.
What show do they listen to?
Yeah, something.
No, Jay's awesome. He's listening to like the Stoics on his Audible. Jay's great. We're not worried about Jay at all. You heard Andrew Bogusch. He's here. He's got headlines for us.
Those headlines are
I'm not worried
sponsored.
about Jay. I'm worried about the car.
Yeah, well, on that note, headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Double up, protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at progressive.com. And now they wait. The Celtics are back in the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years, and Game 1 isn't until next Thursday. Derek White doesn't mind.
Every series we've had a little bit of a break in between, so we understand what we need to do, and we're going to lock in, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get 4 more wins.
They keep having breaks because they keep ending series quickly. This time sweeping the Pacers 105-102 in Indy last night. White hit the tie-breaking 3 with 43 seconds left in Boston's latest last-minute rally. This time holding the Pacers scoreless for the final 3.5 minutes to turn a 102-98 hole into that 105-102 clincher. Indy head coach Rick Carlisle.
The level of fight was just tremendous all the way through this. Circumstance never fazed them one way or the other. They were in this to win every possession that they could and any game that they could.
Except for the last 46 minutes. His team played again without Tyrese Halliburton and his hamstring. Andrew Nembhard scored 24, hitting out 10 assists. Jaylen Brown named series MVP after 29 more points for Boston. Jason Tatum adding 26 with 13 rebounds and 8 assists. So now they wait on the Mavericks and T-Wolves, their Game 4 in Dallas tonight, with those Mavs thinking about a sweep. Dallas big Derek Lively is doubtful with the neck sprain he suffered in Game 3.
Quick question about the Pacers and being totally serious here. Do you think they go the way more of the Atlanta Hawks from a couple of years ago where Eastern Conference Finals run and we kind of never hear from them? Or is this a team that you think will be kind of in the mix in the East moving forward?
Oh, can I go first?
Yeah.
Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
But you don't think the East is great? Because you're like, well, Giannis is going to get hurt and Embiid's going to get hurt. So who's going to be their big competition?
I'll tell you right now, put me out on the court, I will cook Andrew Nembhard.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, the Knicks, Knicks will be formidable, but you don't believe in, I rattled them off. I said the Heat, I said the Bucks, I said the 76ers. And
yeah, I don't believe in
them all.
I don't believe in any of them, but I don't think this Indiana team, as they're currently built, are ready for a real deep run. I just think they got ahead of themselves this year just by the way the matchups fell. I don't think that they're going to be able to do it. Do you?
I think people keep doubting the Pacers, and they keep proving us wrong. So I'm not willing to say that. Plus, they should have some money to work with this offseason, and now the Pacers may be a way more desirable place to go. I mean, they could have some moves this offseason to make them a lot better.
Okay.
And do we think they have a Trae Young problem? Like, is there a weird chemistry dynamic thing brewing in Indiana? Because isn't that part of the Hawks' problem?
But I think the Hawks' problem is lack of overall talent. I'm not sure. Are Atlanta, you think it's a chemistry problem more than a talent problem?
I mean, this is what the second or third trade offseason they're going to explore trying to break up something, right? Whether they trade Trae or they trade DeJounte Murray. They've already changed head coaches. Like, Rick Carlisle's not going to get fired at Indiana.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong about Indiana, but I just don't see this the way they're built right now. Like, Miles Turner is a defensive liability, just like every other big man in the NBA. Siakam, like, you guys love Siakam. Siakam's effective, but for some reason, Siakam doesn't scare me. Like, the 76ers could have traded for Siakam, and honestly, he's great when no one's focusing on him. I'm not sure I see it, unless Halliburton really takes the next step. If Halliburton becomes this unstoppable star, but is he built like that? I just don't see the Pacers getting to the finals.
I kind of agree with Pearl. I think that this is a really nice team. I think I don't think they'll disappear like the Hawks. I think they're a perennial playoff team. But it does feel like they're going to need another big star in order for them to kind of make that next level. Because seeing Siakam, and he's your kind of number one option, I just can't see him beating those top guys in the Eastern Conference year in, year out.
Is there any way that like a Donovan Mitchell or another like star gets to Indiana?
Well, again, maybe it's a way more attractive destination now that they made it to the finals of the in-season tournament, which I know everyone around here hates except for EJ, and then also made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, it's not nothing.
I think one small X factor could be if Ben Mathurin somehow turns into something. Because he was hurt. And he didn't get to play, and he was their lottery pick. I mean, maybe he's the guy that's missing. I don't know.
What else you got, Bogusch?
Well, I don't want to celebrate somebody's exit, but Angel Hernandez is retiring.
Oh, you can celebrate.
Most infamous umpire, done after 32 seasons, thousands of games, and many of your least favorite calls. Hernandez and MLB had reportedly been discussing a financial settlement for weeks. That's now done. He has not worked since May 9th. On the field yesterday, somebody finally cooled off the Guardians.
Another 1-2. And Charlie drives his ball to deep right. Brennan going back. And it's gone. 3-run home run. Chuck Nasty. Second of the year. And the Rockies now lead it 7-4.
That's from Rockies TV. Charlie Blackmon's 3-run shot capping off a 6-run fourth, which sent Colorado to an 8-6 win over Cleveland, ending their 9-game run.
By the way, quick correction on the Angel Hernandez stat that he has not worked since 1998.
He's been trying to get out of games, catch flights. I mean, it's so obvious
Take
when
a
he's
hike.
doing a game. It's like, oh, Angel's got a dinner reservation. That's why he just called strike 3 on a pitch that's in freaking Omaha. Nice.
The Dallas Stars took a 2-1 lead on the Oilers with a 5-3 win in Edmonton last night. Jason Robertson, a hat trick, including the tie-breaking goal mid-third period. Notre Dame with a repeat in men's lacrosse with a 15-5 rout of Maryland in the title game in Philly yesterday. And Mike Tyson's apparently fine after a health scare on a Miami to LA flight yesterday. A Tyson rep says he got nauseous and dizzy right before landing because of an ulcer flare-up. Paramedics came on board to treat Tyson when the plane landed. Now, there were rumors the flight had delayed takeoff because of Tyson, but his camp says that's not true. It was an AC problem separate from this quote-unquote health scare.
Man, nothing worse than a hot airplane, but go ahead.
Also, definitely doesn't sound like guys should be boxing anybody.
Yeah, you got ulcer flare-ups. I don't know how good that would be to then take several body blows potentially from Jake Paul.
Wait, did you say when the fight's July 20th? Is that?
It is about 7 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's July.
Yeah, that's a long way to go for Mike Tyson.
Well, I mean, guy's in his late 50s. Like, there's a reason why we're not really boxing at that age anymore. Because he got, calamities, maladies. I don't know.
And his body obviously has probably seen a lot through the years. Long career. Trying to be
Mike
nice
Tyson's
here.
been through a couple things.
Yeah. A couple.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because I don't have ulcers, but I can't imagine how painful that is. And anytime something goes down on an airplane, you're trapped. What are you going to do? Have you guys ever been on a plane when they get on the announcement and ask if there's any doctors on the plane?
No.
That's happened
Has
to
happened
me.
to you? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and it took like 4 announcements before someone was like, I'm a nursing student. I was like, this person is screwed.
No.
Well, I mean, the guy ended up being okay, I guess, but it was terrible. You just hope that's not you.
Yeah, that sounds like my worst nightmare.
Because what are the odds that someone's like, yes, I won the emergency room at Massachusetts General? Like, that's not happening. You're
and
getting
I have all my equipment.
yeah, right.
Well,
You're getting the nursing student.
Wasn't that a Curb episode where Larry's sitting next to a guy who he knows is a doctor?
And he won't say it.
and the guy, he's like, why won't you say you're a doctor? He's like, I'm not on the clock. Whatever. That was funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was a great Curb episode.
I don't remember. Doesn't Pete feel very strongly about Tyson or Jake Paul in this fight?
Tyson's going to kick his ass. I don't care if he's
Ulcer
90.
or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was with Pete, but this scared me a little
Take
bit.
a punch from Mike Tyson and then tell me he's going to lose, all right?
I might owe Maggie an apology.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Well,
Maggie was very early being like, this is not going to end well for him.
I didn't think they were going to make it to the fight, and
True.
I'm still kind of thinking about that.
Oh, Maggie, an apology for this one. This
Too
is
big of
not
a payday for Tyson not to make it to the fight, but
No, I think the issue is making it to the fight. I think that's a real question now. Once he's in the ring, maybe that old magic comes back. I'll bet anyone here on Paul. And
he's
I win.
the favorite.
I'll win if Tyson doesn't make it to the fight.
Yeah, I've got too many bets going on right now. I gotta keep. Yeah.
Still thinking about my gasser, so I'm good.
Yeah, this is rough.
I feel like I could get Pete here because he's got overconfidence in Mike Tyson.
I can get him.
I don't bet on 51-year-olds.
Oh, no.
How does this work? How do you go take a punch from Tyson? I don't really bet on 51-year-olds. Plus, he's 58.
It's very different.
Yeah, I was like, how old is he? Was I wrong about that? He's 57. He'll be 58 for the fight.
You can't have those two sentences back to back.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that could happen. I'm saying if he gets into that ring, he is going to knock him out.
Okay, so bet that.
I'm not. No. I'm not betting that.
Why?
Well, because I just said.
You just said you get him, he's going to knock him out. I am listening. That's why I'm confused.
There's a lot of ifs.
Listen to you.
A lot of ifs going on. But
I'm not going to bet on something that who knows if it's going to make it to the ring because of various circumstances.
It also is boxing, so he could somehow win but still lose.
It's not like TKO is sponsoring this or a major company is sponsoring this.
Apparently, it's a sanctioned fight, which is shame on the people in Texas for even sanctioning this for that boxing commission. Wow. Are there any other appendages he could bite off of Jake Paul? Don't answer that. 855-212-4227 Bogusch. Thank you.
Referring to the ear, folks.
Yeah. Your memories of Bill Walton. We see you guys on the phones. You want to answer the question of what part of Bill's legendary life will you remember most as he's passed away at 71? So much more to do. We got an update on the 49ers for you as well. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Grateful Dead this morning to honor the legacy of Bill Walton, their biggest fan. Bill Walton passed away, 71 years old, was battling cancer, but had overcome so much in his life, Perloff. The injuries to his feet, the injuries to his back, and his just relentless positivity, I think, is what you and I will remember most, along, of course, with the incredible career as a basketball player and a broadcaster. We're asking for your memories and what you'll remember most about Bill Walton. And Andrea's in the Bay Area. She's in Berkeley. Andrea, you met Bill Walton. What was it like?
Oh, yeah. Hi, how are you, Maggie?
We're doing great. How are you?
Good. Hope you had a happy Taurus birthday.
I did. Thank you so much for remembering.
Of course. I never forget a sign. Yes, I had the synchronicity and opportunity to meet Bill Walton. The Giants, the San Francisco Giants, have a Grateful Dead Jerry Garcia night every year around Jerry Garcia's birthday, which is August 1st. And it was just so awesome. I was invited to a special Triples Alley benefit, and there he was with Jerry Garcia's daughters just hanging out in the crowd. And I talked with him, of course, about his astrology chart and being a transformational Scorpio. And to no one's surprise, he was totally open and into it. And I remember calling him an inspiration of transformation after all he's been through, and like you said, how he's, this beacon of light for other people. And he just, he was born November 5th, 1952, year of the dragon, which is also quite strong. And he just had this very magnetic, intense, mysterious, powerful personality, which is very Scorpio, and just his ability to transform all his health challenges and, really be there for other people as well. And then if you ever got a chance to read his book. He had a book signing, I remember, later that year. It was called Back from the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool that he had this epic book that he also wrote. And obviously, his credentials and all, how wonderful he was. And then he was a really cool announcer. So, it was just great to see him. And, he's going to leave such a void being this transformational person who, no matter what was going on in his own life, he would overcome that and be there for other people and be that beacon of light. And ESPN just reran some 30 for 30 episodes, if you ever saw that.
They were great. Perloff and I got to interview the director of that when it came out, Steve James, who's a phenomenal director. And it was a great documentary. And now I'm so glad we have it. And Andrew, thanks so much for calling and sharing that and the memory of Bill Walton and getting to meet him. And we learned so much about his early life, and then you got to just sort of be in Bill Walton's world, which is tie-dyed and with lots of Grateful Dead memorabilia all over his home. I mean, unique guy.
Yeah, also that documentary left me with this image of him in that hot tub in the backyard, just really happy later in his life, at least seeming very happy in moments. I know he had a lot of pain management issues, but it totally kind of came out on the other side.
Sean is in Oregon. You also met Bill Walton, Sean.
Yeah, I was in first grade when we won the championship here in Portland. And I grew up with a Bill Walton poster on my bedroom door.
Nice.
And so growing up, I went to a couple of his signings. And when he had that book, that book came out like 8 years ago. I went down to the bookstore and got it signed. And it was a great experience because the whole bookstore was full. There was a line just snaked around the whole library. And he's a cool dude. He makes everyone feel important. He sits there and talks to everybody. But he made that book signing go all day long. It took 4 hours to get my book signed.
I bet.
Of course.
And I'll remember, in only his third season in the NBA, he took Portland Trailblazers to their only championship.
Yep.
I still think it's the only sports franchise to win a championship their first time to the playoffs.
Oh, man. That's a great point, Sean. And that was an incredible season, painful for Perloff, which adds to the lore. And
Sean,
it was an MVP season for Bill Walton.
Sean, how good was Dr. J in that series, too?
It's not about Dr. J.
Well, the whole thing came down to the scuffle between Maurice Lucas and then who is the guy on Philly?
George McGinnis, probably.
Okay. No.
No, I don't know. I have no idea.
Wait.
Oh, shit.
Wait, Sean.
You gotta go look
Wait, Sean. That just went off the rails.
No, he's
Honestly,
right. I'm
I think
embarrassed.
Bill Walton would have appreciated that, quite frankly.
Sorry, I didn't know who the fight was.
Man. All right, we got more to do. Don't move.
Oh.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's got something to say, infinity's my...
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Long Memorial Day weekend, you may have missed this news from Shams Charania that J.J. Redick appears to be the front runner for the Lakers' head coaching job. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We have a lot to get to. You got the Boston Celtics are through to the final. Obviously, the Lakers' biggest and most historic rival. They have punched their ticket to the NBA Finals. We await the winner of the Mavericks-Timberwolves game. Could be tonight, could be a sweep by the Dallas Mavericks, and then we have to wait until next Thursday, Perloff, for the finals to begin, which leaves plenty of time for the Lakers to make this higher without infringing on the NBA Finals, and it appears J.J. Redick has put himself in the pole position here.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild hire considering the Lakers have a window of months, not years. Like, they got to win now with LeBron, and this is a first-time coach with no experience. It's not like Nick Nurse, who won a title his first year, who had been a long-time assistant in the NBA. So, man, this is a gigantic swing. I wouldn't think the Lakers are in a position to do this, because if you're not going to win it this year with LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's not happening the year after that. And I'm sorry, even if you draft Bronny's not coming to save the day.
No.
This is your shot. To take a risk like this seems like a strange move to me.
Well, I mean, what else were they going to do? I kind of like this more than anything else. I mean, you're going to have another assistant coach, okay, maybe one who has more experience, but they just did this with Darvin Ham, and everyone's their own person. You shouldn't judge one by the next or paint with a broad brush. But at the same time, what choices do the Lakers really have here? They have decided that their entire MO right now is to keep LeBron James happy. Why else would you be talking about drafting Bronny James with a second-round pick, right? That's not because Bronny's going to be contributing to a title team. Get out of here. It's because you're trying to keep LeBron happy and keep him away from exploring other destinations like your Philadelphia 76ers and other places that he might leave. And I think the Lakers and Laker fans want LeBron to stay. So if LeBron wants J.J. Redick, just suck it up and have J.J. Redick be the coach. I mean, it's more important that LeBron is healthy, engaged, all of that. I don't know why he'd be any different. Of course, he's going to be engaged, but it's more important to me that LeBron is in on the coach than it is that who the coach is.
Wait, so drafting Bronny James with a second-round pick is not the same as hiring J.J. Redick. I mean, the two, using a useless pick that's not going to be anything anyway on the son of a legend to create this amazing moment. And also, it's a gigantic fan draw to have Bronny and LeBron there.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's a no-brainer. That's easy. Hiring J.J. Redick is something totally different. If you don't do it to keep LeBron healthy at this point, happy.
Right.
This point, the only moves you make are to win a championship. Otherwise, what are we doing here? So maybe they do, and I'm not discounting that J.J. Redick can do that. It just feels weird that a guy who's never coached is going to come in there he's going to have no time to learn this gig at all.
Okay, but it's not like the Lakers have really been blowing everyone away with these coaching hires. Frank Vogel won a championship with you, and you discarded him like a used tissue, and then that happened again in Phoenix. We're talking about, Mike D'Antoni briefly. We're talking about Byron Scott, who's a legend, obviously. Luke Walton, whose father, Bill, unfortunately passed away yesterday. We've been talking about our memories of Bill Walton. Then Vogel, then Ham. They're throwing stuff up against the wall.
What's wrong with that?
With.
I mean, that's a lot of experienced coaching right there. A lot of playoff runs out of all those coaches you just mentioned.
But were there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years where they didn't even make the playoffs.
No, I'm just
between Mike
but all those
D'Antoni
coaches
and Luke
made a lot of playoff runs. I mean, Byron Scott certainly, and Luke Walton's made the playoffs, and all sorts of guys.
Exactly.
Vogel's made a lot of runs.
But think about it, and
J.J. Redick's done nothing.
And they don't even hang on to these guys.
Well, they don't even.
What's the point?
But it's not the guy what's the common problem here?
The front office.
Lakers. Lakers cannot hold on to a coach. LeBron can't hold on to a coach. So why this is going to be any different? It feels like J.J. Redick will be 2 years and out. What happens when his buddy LeBron retires?
Okay, but here's the thing. You could hire anyone short of Phil Jackson and they could be 2 years and out because Byron Scott was 2 years and out. Mike D'Antoni was 1 year and out. Luke Walton was only there for 3 years. Frank Vogel for 3. Darvin Ham for 2.
So you're
it's not so
it,
precious, You might as well go with the guy that LeBron wants because you can hire somebody who even has championship credentials and they could be out too just as easy as J.J. Redick's going to be out.
So you're saying the guy's going to be gone in 2 years, so it doesn't matter who you hire?
I'm saying
that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Make LeBron happy is the most important thing for this last little bit of his basketball career.
Wait, let me just make you clarify this. Make him happy so he'll stay, or make him happy so he's happy once the coach is hired? Is this just to keep him in purple and gold?
I think this is part of whatever leverage LeBron does have. I think he's using it now, which is he will pretend maybe to be looking around at other places. He's going to want – they say that he never gets involved in the coaching search. I just think that's such BS. But I think he is going to get involved now. And this is the Lakers have shown – the kind of respect that they'll give to legends at the end of their career. Look at what they did with Kobe, and giving him a massive contract even when he was past his prime. And now I think they're going to do this with LeBron because the Lakers are about stars. And they want to keep LeBron and Anthony Davis for another run. And I think J.J. Redick, Darvin Ham, Frank Vogel, I don't know if it actually matters because Vogel is a good coach and they discarded him.
Yeah, so that picture you paint is late Kobe, then why are we even paying attention? Who cares? They're going to be a barely over 500 team that's in the play-in tournament, maybe gets out of the play-in. I don't know. Can we stop talking about the Lakers then? If that's their goal, to be late Kobe, which was not good?
No, I'm just saying they show a lot of deference to the stars at the end.
As a negative, right?
No, but
that's something a bad franchise does.
It's a trend. And I think that they will do it with LeBron and Kobe obviously meant so much more to the Lakers than LeBron does. Don't get me wrong. But you also are seeing a lot more success here. They did go to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. I know they lost in the first round this year, but again, ran into the Nuggets, which is really difficult for them. It's a tough matchup. And I think they believe, hey, we're still in this thing. Now, if I were LeBron, I would leave the Western Conference, but I don't think that's how he's seeing this last couple of years.
No, I mean, honestly, I think you nailed it. I think this is a late Kobe Bryant run. They're just going to sort of put a team on paper that you'll buy a ticket for, but there's no real championship aspiration.
Well, but again, that's not JJ Redick's fault, and so he might end up becoming like the punchline of this whole thing, but I'm willing to reserve judgment here. I mean, is he a little insufferable, as Pete is not a huge fan of the podcast and all that stuff? Yeah, he is. But you know what? I bet a lot of these guys are if we really got to know them. So here, why not give JJ Redick a shot? Why not give him a shot?
So the last year, I'm sorry. I'm looking at some Lakers run toward the end of Kobe. There were some bad years.
I know.
And I do not want to do that with LeBron.
And he was hurt for a lot of them, which is a shame. But again, like, I'm curious to hear from Laker fans, because Laker fans, like, it's like what they used to say about the British Empire. Like, the sun never sets on the British Empire. The sun never sets on Laker fans. They are all over the globe. And I'm curious to know how they feel about Redick. Do they think that this would be some kind of joke? Because to be honest, like, who else did you want? Did you want Kenny Atkinson? Did you want another assistant coach who has never had a head coaching job before? This is a more of an outside-the-box hire. You're right. It's a swing, a lot of boom or bust potential. But again, if it hits, maybe J.J. Redick becomes a great coach.
Don't see it happening. I mean, Steve Kerr jumped right in and was great with the Warriors, but there was a lot going on around to support him. Like, they had this gigantic mindset of, we're going to build this sort of new wave three-point shooting team. I just don't see the infrastructure being there to take Lakers. You say it's okay if the Lakers are just okay. I think the Lakers are going to be disappointed in this whole experiment if they end up, say, I can't do the math, if they have 48 wins, are the number 9 seed, and go out in the first round again. You're right. It's going to be same old, like get rid of Redick in 2 years. So yeah, I have very low expectations for this move. It's not really Redick's fault. I just think we're looking at it really like the end of a run, just trying to be presentable. And that to have a brand new coach in that situation, a guy who's never been on the sideline his whole life, just feels a little odd to me.
Well, is it worse to have someone like JJ Redick, who at least has a name, I guess a little star power, and maybe the support of LeBron James, or another, assistant coach who, if you're a really big NBA fan, you may know this person, but if you're just a regular NBA fan, you have never heard of this person before, and who knows how this is going to go, and who knows if LeBron is going to be out there passive-aggressively criticizing rotations and stuff like that, like he was with Darvin Ham. It's a tough situation, and for them to go with like a outside-the-box candidate, I don't think is the worst. It's not a crime to me.
Well, I think the strategy, if they're doing it just to appease LeBron, that is a bad sign. I mean, you should be thinking long-term, what's best for this franchise, not what's best for my 40-year-old superstar.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. We're talking about J.J. Redick, according to Shams Charania, as the front runner, appears to be the front runner for the Lakers head coaching job. And you mentioned, are they doing this to appease LeBron James? Well, it would appear that they are open to drafting Bronny James to also appease LeBron James. And it was funny that LeBron's agent, obviously Rich Paul, compared this to like any other type of nepotism that happens in the world. And he specifically, and I don't know why he decided to go with this specific example, he specifically called out James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, as an example of this sort of nepotism, because his father, Charles Dolan, was actually the person who purchased the Knicks, and then James Dolan took over the Knicks. One of the worst owners in the history of professional organized sports. Why would you bring up that example as one to compare your client to it? Like, you couldn't have come up with anything? Look at Jeannie Bus. How about say Jeannie? She's right there. Listen, Jeannie took over eventually took over the organization from her father. And look, the Lakers have been a champion since then, multiple times.
No, not an ideal comparison right there from Rich Paul.
Oh, my goodness.
Probably accurate, though.
I know. I hope not.
6'1" shooting guard who scored 4 points a game at a middling USC program. I feel like Jim Dolan I think Bronny aspires to that level of success. At least Dolan's got the sphere. What has Bronny done?
Oh, my goodness. He's got the sphere.
I also love how there's apparently a difference that Rich Paul can't see between inheritance and nepotism, because there is an aspect of like, he's part of the family, so therefore he's, I guess, owed the Knicks or
right.
Jeannie
It passes through the family.
Jeannie Buss gets the Lakers because she was the daughter of the former owner. Does Bronny James get inheritance in the NBA? Does he just get inherited a spot on the Lakers?
I know.
Absolutely.
He's inheriting a spot on the Lakers.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also love, because I heard Rich Paul say this, Ramona Shelburne said this, a couple other people have said it. It's like, they're like, it's just like when a Hollywood producer will hire their kid. It's like, yeah, and we think this is like everything wrong about Hollywood and many things.
But it's
that's
funny.
one of them.
The worst is the NFL with coaches. Like everyone, there's a lot of Schottenheimers and there's a lot of Shanahans. But Kyle Shanahan's awesome, and Sean McVay is awesome, and they're all nepotism hires too.
I know.
What's funny though about this is you were talking early, Pearl, about this being maybe a second round throwaway, which I actually think is still bad because Draymond Green and Nikola Jokic are second round picks. Like those, you can get great players in the second round. But now we're hearing the Suns apparently are open to drafting him in the first round. I'm starting to wonder if this becomes kind of a weird thing we see like in the NFL where a guy's stock is rising and what we thought maybe was a second round pick becomes a first round pick. And how high will this go? The Suns are like, I think 22nd, I want to say, or 23rd, whatever they are. That's not a low pick. That's a first round guaranteed contract. He's on your team for 3 years. You can't get out of that.
I'm stealing this joke, I think, from Ryan Russillo. Who's number one? It's the number one pick.
Oh,
French guy?
Alex R.
No. What team is it?
It's the Hawks.
The Hawks, right. They should pick him number one and call LeBron and say, we have your son. hold Bronny hostage.
Like Liam Neeson?
Yes. LeBron, we have your son. What are you going to do now?
All of a sudden, LeBron's on a speeding train through Europe.
I love this scenario that EJ's painting, that some team is going to try and leverage LeBron by drafting Bronny. Some team, by the way, that could be a hometown of Andrew Perloff.
Oh, you keep saying this is not possible. Dude, Daryl Morey is such a wild card. You don't think that LeBron James and Daryl could have something up their sleeves?
Oh, God.
He's been star chasing over LeBron for a decade.
Yeah, I honestly, I do not see LeBron leaving L.A. I really think he has a lot of interest and a lot of reasons to be there. And he's not going to win a title in Philly. He might as well stay in L.A.
Yeah, you just don't want him to come.
Yeah, do you want him?
No, you don't.
I want him generally. Yeah, no, I want him. I think this is false hope. Just like the last time that LeBron was out there and there was a rumor that he was visiting school districts in Pennsylvania. It's not happening. I don't think anybody should get their hopes up. LeBron is going back to LA.
Well, there was a rumor at one point that he was house hunting in Miami, and everybody dismissed it like, oh, I don't know, LeBron could just want a mansion in Miami. And then we got the decision.
Oh, okay. Right. Because there was also rumors about 7 other real estate situations in 2010 when that was going on. The guy went to a Boys and Girls Club in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yeah.
You didn't talking about real estate. That would have worked out for the Knicks. And that didn't end up happening. So don't give me the Miami real estate. Just be Stephen A. happened to get lucky on that one. No, all credit to Stephen A. for figuring that out. But no, it's not that I don't want LeBron. I'm just not going to get my hopes up for that. This is a waste of energy.
The question is, JJ Redick, will this work? He is now the front runner, according to Shams Charania, to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. 855-212-4227. We know Laker fans all over this great nation. You are welcome to weigh in on that. Okay, coming up, we are still taking your memories of Bill Walton, who passed away yesterday. His larger-than-life persona and what he leaves behind is a legacy that really is unmatched. So much to get to. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. All right, we got limited choices here. Maggie, Defensive Player of the Week. EJ picks it. We got the NBA playoffs, WNBA perhaps, maybe tall shot blocker in WNBA, maybe the Indiana Fever coach, who seems to be the only person who can stop Caitlin Clark from scoring.
I thought maybe he could have gone with Igor Shesterkin for the Rangers. A goaltender that was playing awesome, but then let up 4 goals in the last game. But he's really been one of the stories of the NHL playoffs. Could have gone with Drew Holiday's been awesome. Derek White had 5 steals last night. Could have gone with that as the Celtics close out and sweep the Indiana Pacers. I'm probably going to go with that. I'm going to go with Derek White.
No. I'll go with... gosh, I know he got hurt. I'll go with Derek Lively or any Mavericks big man because, getting 5 steals against the Pacers, that's like beating your little kid in 101.
Okay,
That
got
doesn't
it.
count anything.
I know. The Pacers' disrespect
The
on
Pacers-
this show is borderline criminal.
I mean, they will hand the ball over. They will turn the ball over
Well,
like no
maybe.
team. That's their jam. High pace, lots of turnovers. So, who is it, EJ?
All right, so I've gotten a lot of complaints about doing too much basketball, and I did hockey a couple weeks ago. So the defensive player of the week is none other than Ian Happ.
Line drive left field, Happ coming on, charging, diving, and he made the grab. What a catch, Ian Happ. Well, he's made some great ones here at American Family Field.
That was left fielder Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs, who made a diving catch against the Brewers in their 5-1 loss. This game was tied 0-0 in the bottom of the 7th when he made this catch. He doesn't make that catch, the Brewers score, and they blow the lead in the 7th instead of blowing the lead in the 8th. But I wanted to give some love to the Cubs and Ian Happ, considering Carlos Ortiz filled in on Friday and did a masterful job on his rant about Daniel Jones. He's a big Cubs fan. So another shot for Carlos here, giving his guy Ian Happ Defensive Player of the Week.
All right, there you go. A little bright spot there for the Cubs.
Throw flowers and bouquets at Carlos.
Funny rant.
Pete, we missed you. We did miss you.
Okay.
We talked about you often.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're always right here.
I always miss my right-hand man, Pete, but I did want to give, look, the Cubs, they had a bad loss on Sunday, so give Carlos something.
I think I saw the stat the Cubs are hitting .211 in May.
Yeah, I mean, they're the Cubs playing Cubs baseball,
Tough.
They're hiring the Mets hitting coaches?
they must have some of the Mets hitting coaches.
It's so weird because I was going to go with pitcher J.A. Happ for this one. It had the wrong Happ in my mind.
Is he still pitching?
I have no idea.
It'd be awesome if he was. Remember, he's J Happ now. He was J.A. and
Are they
said,
related?
"No, I'm just J." Was that?
Are they related?
I don't think so.
Get out of here.
I don't think they are.
Fascinating.
You think that's fascinating? Multiple Happs. Can I tell you guys that I was at a wedding over the weekend, Memorial Day weekend, went to a wedding. It was beautiful. It was lovely. Something happened at that wedding that has never happened ever to me before at a wedding.
The bride walked away.
No, she stayed. She was happy. Great couple. We were so thrilled to be invited. It's my sister-in-law's sister. She was stunning, and everything was great. But Perloff, they solicited like music requests from the guests.
Okay.
So you could, with your RSVP, you could also suggest a song, which is kind of cool. I've never really seen that before.
In advance? You mean
Yes.
with your RS? That's really cool.
Yeah.
DJ probably loved that. You're not harassing him all night or her all night.
Yeah. So he had a list, or he or she had a list. That's awesome.
So obviously I wrote in Drop It Like It's Hot by Snoop Dogg, because why not? And so they did play it. But so some of the songs seemed a little, I want to say kind of random, but you got a few songs that sort of seem like inside jokes or something like that, because when you're soliciting from the crowd and then you're actually playing from that, you're going to get some unique suggestions. So I told you guys, I grew up in the wedding business, so I've worked tons of weddings in my life, and I've been lucky enough to be at a lot of weddings. I've probably been to 150 weddings, no lie. I've never heard someone play Enter Sandman at a wedding. And I'm going to be honest, it slaps. It was great. It all of a sudden, it's like, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I'm like, is Mariano Rivera coming out at this wedding? How is this possible? But it was in Philadelphia, so that never would have happened. He probably would have gotten booed. But I've never heard Enter Sandman played at a wedding as a dance on the dance floor.
Wait a minute. This was a wedding in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
I think this might have a connection to the old ECW, because the wrestler named the Sandman came out to Enter Sandman, and they were based out of Philadelphia.
Is that right?
Yep.
I thought you were going Billy Wagner, who was a Phillies closer.
I thought the bride
that
came
too.
down the aisle to Enter Sandman. That would be.
That would have been great.
That would have been cool.
This was like a dance song?
Everyone's out. You know how at the beginning of the wedding, when they have a couple songs that get everybody out on the dance floor. So they had one of those songs, so we're all out on the dance floor, and then all of a sudden Enter Sandman. I'm like, I'm staying. This is great.
I'm a little surprised that you've been to 100 and you haven't heard Enter Sandman, because I would assume some Yankee fan would have thrown it on.
I've never heard Enter Sandman.
Not that I've heard, but I haven't been to 100 weddings. I've been to only 5.
There was also a point in the wedding where, again with the music, where somehow the DJ got the playlist and the do not playlist mixed up.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, so for 3 songs in a row, all of a sudden the bride's like, I don't want this song. I don't want this song. And so then the bridesmaids had to go over to the DJ and was like, what are you doing? and he had mixed them up.
Why did you give them a don't play song?
Oh, that's
list?
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need a do not
Really?
playlist. You'll find
What's a do not playlist? I've never heard of this.
I did not want them to play certain songs at my wedding. I was
What
very
songs?
clear. Play that funky music, White Boy. I didn't want the YMCA.
Yeah.
I didn't want We Are Family. There were just a few
Electric
that
Slide?
No Electric
Macarena.
Slide. I didn't want the
Ow.
Macarena.
Whoa, whoa,
Basically,
whoa,
all of our
whoa, whoa.
one-hit
No
wonder
electric
bracket.
slide.
Yes.
That's a little.
Why would no electric slide?
Yeah, that's where I hold.
Yeah,
That's
who
where
does
I hold
not
the
love
line.
the electric slide?
Well, we played that at other family events. We didn't need this one at my wedding.
Oh, you got to do. First of all, for people like me, there's only one dance that we can look okay on, and that's the
Same.
electric slide. What are you doing?
I took it away from you. Yeah.
Okay,
No, the do not playlist is quite important, and the guy mixed them up.
But if you give them a playlist, though, like are DJs just gonna go? They're just gonna freestyle and say, "I'm just gonna play this random song."
I don't think there were enough songs on that guests had submitted to outfit the whole wedding.
I got you.
If they were playing something from my do not playlist, I'd be pulling 20s out of that tip. No chance.
Ouch.
Give me a break. You're paying too much money for them to screw that up.
Did you? I went live band, by the way. We had a band.
Yeah, we did both.
You did. Okay, so the band took a break and the DJ came on.
Yeah, so we had a band, and they were nice. They actually learned our first dance. Like they learned the song. It was kind of an unusual first dance. They learned it, executed it perfectly. They were amazing.
Was it Enter Sandman?
It was. They shredded too on guitar. It's like, is that James Hetfield? Yeah. So we had a band, and then the DJ took over late night.
Band and a wedding. That is.
Listen, I grew up in the wedding
So
industry.
so the DJ and the band were it was split sessions essentially. That's interesting. 'Cause I went to a wedding where it was the DJ worked with the band, so that was kind of cool.
Yep. No,
That DJ was weird though, because then he came out and when the band was playing, he had these for lack of a better term, I guess are they called bongos? The drum that you put on your chest and you let people and he was letting people bang on them.
Yeah.
And the problem was, you have all these people who have no idea how to stay on beat with whatever the band is playing. So it's just some band that's rocking out, doing some awesome song, and then just random person who's had too many tequilas, just bang, 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 bang. It was the worst. That was the worst idea ever. But when the DJ and the what's name working together was good. When he came out to the crowd and said, "Everybody hit on the bongos," that was a disaster.
Bang on my bongos.
I've always had this fantasy that I was super, super, super rich, and I could hire a famous band to come to my
How
wedding.
about Metallica?
Not
that
Metallica.
had been on the list. Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, if you could have one band. I kind of have this image of Peter Gabriel coming and playing In Your Eyes to my wife for our first dance.
That'd be amazing.
Sledgehammer.
Yeah, but I don't know how. Yeah, then he did they'd go right into Sledgehammer. Who's not going to enjoy that? That would probably cost $3 million or something.
Wait, is it?
How much do the Russian oligarchs have to pay Rihanna to come to their concerts?
I think it was $8 million, and then they felt like it wasn't Russian. I think it was an Indian billionaire or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Pakistani, and they paid her $8 million, and then they were really upset because she didn't
She mailed it in.
kind of mailed it in.
I think there was video of it where
Yeah.
she could not have cared less.
Wasn't she
about
also
being there.
pregnant though? Wasn't that the thing? They said, well, she was very pregnant, so that's part
It's
of
like
the
the
reason
Super
why
Bowl?
she was not.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that was an
Yeah.
excuse for why she
Right.
didn't deliver on this $8 million concert.
Yeah, something like that. So if you're so it's Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins together. It's Genesis.
No. Peter Gabriel solo In Your Eyes.
That would be great.
There's a lot having the whole Genesis band there.
No, having Peter Gabriel there.
Yeah.
See, I might go Phil Collins over Peter Gabriel though.
Well, you're doing how many songs are you getting out of this? Because one song, if you're going to do one Phil Collins song, that'd be In the Air Tonight, and that's not the mood you
No,
want.
it would have to be Two Hearts. It could be Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. It could be, we could go Phil Collins hits for days.
They're hardly In Your Eyes. That's
Easy
an
Lover.
iconic.
Easy Lover's a great song.
Easy. Then you're going to have to bring Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind, and Fire, too. That's a duet.
This is getting expensive.
This is getting
Phil Bailey
expensive.
being there.
Kaplan said in the chat, Phil Collins doesn't get out of bed for less than $2 million.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you could get Cool in the Gang to do Celebration or Celebrate, whatever the song is called, but you could probably get the gang.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gang.
Celebrate good time. Come on.
What about the guys that do the electric slide?
You could probably could have gotten Oates, Pete.
Oh yes.
Not
Take
Hall.
Oates.
I was at a wedding where this happened, but it was a D level band. It was a freestyle rap group. I think the song was called Maria.
Okay.
And in the middle of the reception, they were just and here's blah blah, and people lost their mind. And my
That's
wife and I were
cool.
like,
Here's Maria.
I don't know who this is. What's going on?
Was the bride named Maria?
Nope.
No.
My friends had Jerry Garcia band at their wedding, which
There
is
you go.
actually very apropos today that we're
Yeah.
celebrating the life of Bill Walton. And it was funny because it was in San Francisco and in the wine country up there. And there's one member of the crew, not the band, but the crew, who looked exactly like Jerry Garcia. We're like, is he? Did we drink too much? Is that Jerry back there? He had like the white hair, like late Jerry. It's kind of like white hair with like the circle glasses, dark frames, dark sunglasses. You know what I mean?
Ever been to a wedding with a bad band?
Kind of.
Awful. Awful. Playing bad songs and not playing them well.
Pete, I'm glad I didn't know you when I got married because I would not want you judging my wedding.
DJs all the way. You can never go wrong with a DJ unless they play the wrong
DJs
list.
all the way. That's the exact opposite of how people should play. If you can find a good band, they're way better.
Oof.
No. DJs are cheaper.
Are safer.
Safer.
Yeah, safer.
No.
You want that to be the problem at the wedding?
I feel like if you're in a band, I think it has to be great. And to be fair, every wedding I've been to that had a band, it's been great. But like if
And it's expensive.
yeah, it's expensive,
The
and
band's
like
expensive.
if you go to one that Pete went to, apparently that's rough.
Wait, Pete, do you remember like a memorable, why? When did you realize like, oh boy, this is a bad band?
The first set of songs. It was songs that no one can dance to these songs.
Ah.
We're like, no one can dance to these songs. Why are we? So
Were they playing popular songs? Is that why you didn't like them? Because they were new?
Was it not Billy Joel?
Yeah.
Now that would definitely be Pete's if Pete could pay to have anyone.
Was it Hall but not Oates?
They weren't playing Taco. Put it on the Ritz.
Did he start cursing like Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer?
Or what is it? Old school. I need you now. The Dan band.
Yeah.
Oh, the Dan, right.
Yeah. Anyway, headlines. Let's do that. So that was my little bit of my weekend at a wedding.
3 times, guys, the Pacers had the lead or were even with the Celtics in the final minute of an Eastern Conference final game, and 3 times they lost. And now Rick Carlisle's team's season is over.
We made our share of mistakes like tonight. We gambled probably 5 times in the second half that led to at least 10 points for them. And those are discipline type things that you have to learn in this kind of environment.
Shut up, Rick. Shut up, Rick. You're so lucky your team was where they were. Well, Giannis being hurt and Randall being hurt, you're product of good luck. So, you know what? Stop with the blaming everybody else. You lost. Go home. Go back to you.
Thanks, Pete.
He actually blamed his team. I don't know if you were listening. He didn't blame everybody else.
No, I blamed
he blamed
his
the
team.
officials.
Well, he's not blaming himself though.
But he's saying, we gave them 10 points. I get lost. That maybe they scored 10 points on their own. I mean, the Celtics did sweep the Pacers. Let's go back. Let's reflect on that too.
He owns some of the bad moves he made, though. Carlisle did.
He didn't coach a good series. He coached a very good series against the Knicks, and I give him credit because he struggled early in that series. I know Pearl is, yes, he struggled early in series. I agree, but like later on, he made some great adjustments.
He did one key thing. He complained about the refs after game 2, was it? And that changed everything.
Move. I hated it, and I still hate it, but it was a good move, and he made some defensive adjustments on Brunson that helped for sure.
Yeah, he took Nembhard off of Brunson. My 12-year-old daughter could have figured that out. I don't know. Carlisle was slow in that Knicks series.
Maybe that's fair. I mean, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm not trying to give him all the flowers. I'm just saying I'll give him credit for what he did in the last series. He did not coach well in this series at all. Not calling that timeout. Massive mistake. You got Nembhard going 1-on-4 against the best defensive player in the NBA. Terrible. Game 1.
Game 1, not calling the timeout.
Not calling timeout there. The issues with not calling timeout and the inbounds play, that terrible inbound play he drew up. I mean, he is not, and I know he did take credit for the Game 1 loss a little bit. But he's been throwing a lot of blame everywhere else instead of himself.
Wait, who's the best defensive player?
Taken a lot of blame, though. I thought Carlisle has taken a lot of blame.
I think game 1, I felt like he did. And I felt like the first series in New York, those first 2 games, he threw it all on his team and the refs. And in here...
There was an embarrassing effort by his team in one of those games. I forgot which one. Game 1, maybe?
That was game 5 when they got blown out when they were tied in the series. And, I mean, again, it's not to say that his team didn't have issues. They did. But to Pete's point, you did make the conference finals, and you did have an opportunity to win some games where your coaching got in the way. And he didn't really own up to it, except for one game that I remember.
His team didn't score for the final 3.5 minutes last night, but was still tied in the final minute until Derek White's 3 with 43 seconds left. Boston finally winning 105-102 for the sweep and their second finals appearance in 3 years. Jaylen Brown scored 29 to surprisingly clinch series MVP honors.
I wasn't expecting that at all. You know, I'll never win. So I was just happy that we won.
The Celtics.
Hopefully that's not foreshadowing what's going on in the finals.
The Celtics have now won 7 straight games. They are 6-0 on the road in these playoffs, and they're 3-for-3 in closeout games. And they've got time to rest and to get Kristaps Porzingis healthy. Game 1 of the finals not until next Thursday, no matter what happens with the Mavs and T-Wolves. Dallas can sweep tonight on its home floor. Derek Lively unlikely to play after that scary knee to the head on Saturday night, but Maxi Kleber could return for Dallas from his round 1 shoulder injury.
I have a question. If the Mavs win tonight and they have a week and a half off, is that good? That feels bad for the NBA. I feel like you're losing some momentum. Just you don't want a 10-day grace period between the conference finals and the finals, do you? Or is that good to build anticipation? I feel like somebody screwed up.
10 days is a long time.
I like it. First of all, whoever is dealing with lingering issues, then maybe get those cleared up. So you get squads at full strength. Everyone, we're not going to be talking about anyone being tired and hands on the shorts and all that. I think this is great.
I feel like 90% of America is going to forget the NBA season is still going on.
But it's like bowl season.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of like, it's actually like the BCS game. I feel like that is way too much time from the end of the season. Starting to feel a little bit, it's not nearly as bad as that. But I do think this off period is going to kind of kill the momentum.
It is good for the teams. Make it as even as possible.
People going to remember this NBA playoffs is still going on?
I think once game 1 starts, then we're talking about it again. I don't know how much that will be an issue. It's not ideal. I don't think they expect this to happen because they're not expecting 2 sweeps in the conference finals.
Has that ever happened? I wonder.
Well,
this hasn't happened in a while.
I also think with that much time off, and again, we're really in it, so maybe this is not maybe just for us because we live and breathe this stuff every single day. But I think what you're going to see is that the Celtics are going to start as the favorites. And I think that's right, and they should be the favorites in this series. And then I think you're going to watch some of the momentum change towards Dallas because of how good Luka and Kyrie have looked at the end of games. And I think you're going to see a switch where I don't know what Vegas is going to do, but it's going to feel like maybe the Mavs should even be the favorite or something like that. You're going to see a sea change because there's going to be so much love for Luka and so much love for Kyrie.
Well, the other big thing, too, for this, and Pearl, I think this is bad for the Mavs to have this time off. I think that they would much rather have Luka Doncic get whatever is wrong with his knee and ankle right. He was apparently,
it's called nothing.
He's clearly hurt. He was a game-time decision.
There's no hurt. Oh, my God. He's the only guy standing at the end of every fourth quarter. He's fine.
I mean, they keep saying that he's really hurt. So, and he's going to the inside the NBA set with a big ice pack on that knee. I mean, he's dealing with something.
He runs from one 3-point line to the other. He always has energy at the end of a game. He is the only person on that court not tired in the fourth quarter because he knows it's his time to shine.
Can we do something
where
Perloff we reimagine him as like an emergency room doctor and he's just walking around from gurney to gurney?
You're fine.
Right. Yeah, you're good.
Put some dirt on it.
Yeah, it's like,
get back out
what
there.
Is that, a gunshot wound? Get it back out there.
Let's talk about
you're going to
Luke.
miss work for that.
Luke had blood on his knee, right?
Yes.
So are we saying that was like a torn ACL that was bleeding through his skin? What was that?
It might have been. He might have gotten an injection. That's what I think it was. I think he got an injection at halftime, and then he started bleeding.
Through an injection site? That much blood?
Gosh.
That's nasty.
Is that right?
I think that's what happened. That's my assumption. I don't know, but why is he bleeding after halftime? He's been dealing with a bad knee, and he did not look good in that first half to me.
Well, what is Lucas shooting in the last 5 minutes of every game?
He's killing these guys.
90%, 85%. So
Yeah.
what more in shape could he be? If you hit every shot, what else can he do?
Well, Pearl, guys can also he's a special player.
He's gonna be fine one way or the other.
I know, but I mean, again, we can go back through the litany of guys that have played through playoff series and they've been dealing with something, and then right after the season they get surgery, and we realize, oh wow, that guy was actually injured. I think that I expect Luka to have some kind of surgery by the end of this. That's my prediction.
It's more likely in your mind that he's like Daniel Day-Lewis and he's in full character mode the entire time, where he's committed to limping around and this hurts and that hurts.
Right. Yes.
And then he goes, oh, all right, I'm going to play basketball for the last 5 minutes.
Watch the last 2 minutes of any of these games. Does he look hurt to you?
He looks hurt for the first 46 minutes of every game.
Not really.
So is he sitting? Is it a rope-a-dope?
Oh, God, he's fine. No, he's fine. He's Luka. He's not moving anyway.
I don't
he's
think
just like that old guy who backs you down at the half-court game. He's totally fine.
No one's saying that needs like knee replacement or he's playing on a torn ACL, but he's not totally fine.
He definitely isn't. I mean, again, this is a guy who's not going to run around. In fact, I think he's one of those players that can probably play through an injury a little bit.
He only goes 50 yards. He goes from one 3-point
right,
line
but I'm
to the
saying,
other.
though, like, because he's not a above-the-rim guy or he's not a guy who's running up and down the court, like, he can probably manage a knee injury better than maybe most other superstars. Anthony Edwards has a knee injury. Like, we've been asking about Anthony Edwards, is he injured? What's wrong with him? Because he can't do what he's been doing before. But it's a different player with Luka because he's not doing the above-the-rim stuff.
Phil is in the chat, youtube.com/Infinity Sports. Next is Doogie Perloff, MD.
By the way, I will
haven't
guarantee
thought
you
about that show in a while.
one thing. Porzingis will be healthy, and they're going to take that guy off the court. There is no way he's going to be. Can we stop with the 7'4" guys who can't cover anybody being on a basketball court? It's driving me crazy watching this T-Wolves game. Fight through a darn screen. Do not give Rudy Gobert covering Kyrie Irving. What are you doing, T-Wolves? Anyway, that's my little take.
Andrew Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we are celebrating the magnificent life of Bill Walton. Also, a retirement in sports. So we'll get to all that. Don't move. Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
The NBA on NBC, let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right. Belotti's got something to say. Infinity's mice, he's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC, what a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free, he misses more. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out boo, boo. Bring it back, oh can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC, let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right. Manny and EJ, they're diehard. Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction. Said that he gonna win. Celtics got no conviction, but now he's hiding, running away. Won't own up to his words, can't face the dismay. He thought Miami would rise like the sun in the sky, but now he's got excuses, got no alibi. He thought the Heat had it, it was a sure bet, but they couldn't handle Boston, not just yet. Peter Bellotti, where you at now? You made a bold choice, but where's your wow? Can't stand the heat in the kitchen. Your predictions cold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. You're playing hide and seek, leaving us in the fold. Peter Bellotti, he made a prediction. Said that he gonna win. Roasting Tom Brady, we took it too far. But Maggie don't care, she's a superstar. Said the kids need to learn to laugh at the pain, so we'll keep on joking. No need to explain. We may have crossed the line, but who's to say? Maggie's teaching her children to handle it her way, making light of the struggles, finding joy through the tears. With a sense of humor, they'll conquer their fears. Ha ha ha, let's laugh it off. Put a smile on your face. Ha ha ha, bring on the jokes. No need to keep the pace. We'll turn the pain into laughter. Let it all go. Ha ha ha. Together we can grow. Roasting Tom Brady. We took it to.
Today by playing Grateful Dead, his favorite band, band he saw over 800 times. You heard Rick Carlisle tell a story last night, Perloff, Bill Walton, who passed away at the age of 71, unfortunately after a battle with cancer. Rick Carlisle was a teammate of Bill Walton's in the 85-86 Celtics, and he said that Bill Walton actually helped him get Grateful Dead tickets that ended up impressing his future wife. He was taking his future wife at the time out on a date, said, do you want to go to the show outside of D.C.? Called Bill Walton, said, can you help me with some tickets? And Bill Walton said, just go to the back door and ask for so-and-so. And Rick Carlisle says, is this going to work? And of course it worked. And got the tickets, got the backstage passes, got to meet Jerry Garcia, the whole deal.
I'm not sure I can think of any athlete who's more associated with one band than Bill Walton and the Grateful Dead. You got any?
Well, I was thinking about that. It's especially just someone who was a fan of that musician, not like Mariano Rivera and Metallica or something where a player gets kind of lumped in with a song, not because he's a fan of Metallica, just because you associate him with that walkout music or whatever. But no, I can't think of one. Like,
there's got to be guys
on tour basically with the Dead. Father Time.
Darius Rucker and Hootie have a lot of athletes tied to them. Like Dan Marino, famously, Dan Marino's in his first major video.
But the thing about Walton is Walton was going to Dead shows for years before he even had the courage to meet the band. Do you remember that came out in the documentary that ESPN did, the 30 for 30, where Walton, who had this terrible stutter for a lot of his life, which is really amazing that he became the broadcaster he did and had such a way with words, but had this terrible stutter, was super shy, and would go to Dead shows and they'd say, hey, Bill, do you want to meet the band? And he would say no, because he was so self-conscious. And then they ended up becoming some of his great friends. Here's a little from Bill Walton on ESPN in 2022, joking around about what winning Sixth Man of the Year meant to him.
Is he aware that you played for the Boston Celtics? I have no idea. Did I? You did win Sixth Man of the Year. Which means I was Larry Bird's valet, which means my job was to tell Larry what time the game started.
I mean, being self-deprecating there. It was really unbelievable when, Bill Walton, healthy for that 85-86 year after missing multiple seasons with foot injuries. And then him with Bird was incredible. I mean, if you go back and look at some of those highlights, Perloff, and I know you know this, but the passing, the ability to find Bird in all these interesting places, cutting backdoor cuts, and it was just beautiful.
No, I don't remember any of that crap.
I know. You'll never give the Celtics.
Screw the 80s Celtics. I really hated that team. I really hated Larry. That's my first sports hate, was Larry Bird.
Really?
And honestly, I don't really remember the details of that Bill Walton thing. I think it was cool to see, but they were good. I mean, he did have that one year, but he is right. Like, Larry Bird probably won all those games. I not to take anything away from Bill Walton. It was incredible. Yeah, Bill Walton kind of killed my Sixers on two different occasions. What it strikes me is some of these highlights, like he was like David Robinson. Like, he was legit superstar, big man, not just like, I think we were talking so much about his different quirkiness and how funny he was as a broadcaster and all the things he did for people. But man, that guy was like, if he'd stayed healthy, he might be in the conversation with Hakeem and Robinson. But he was a little different, but he was also like tall and good. Remember when that's an era when 7-footers really dominated the game. And he was right there with any of them.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the college career that he came off of. 3-time player of the year, won back-to-back national titles at UCLA, 2 30-0 seasons. And then the one year they didn't win, they actually came in third place. There was a third place game back then, which I forgot about in the 70s. And there was an all-time team. And he said, and Bill Walton, in the way that he can, always called himself luckiest man of the world, right? I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And getting to play for John Wooden, getting to play for Red Auerbach, he said, all these coaches that just opened up his world.
Dr. Jack Ramsey was
Dr.
his coach
Jack Ramsey
in Portland,
with the
right?
Portland Trailblazers. You're right about that.
DP Dan Patrick did NBA TV Classics with Bill Walton. And I don't want to steal. I'm sure Dan's going to tell incredible stories about him, but always had just the nicest things to say about him and how funny he was all the time. And just, I don't want to give away. I know that Dan has told many stories on air about Bill definitely controlling the music in the car, and definitely
without a doubt,
there was no acting about Bill Walton's love for the Dead, and also all that classic music. I think he knew a lot of other musicians for that era too.
Neil Young,
yeah, he was into it. Just legit. There's a guy who's true to himself. I mean, that's pretty cool too, because like most people are kind of phony right now. I don't get the sense that was his thing.
No, and you and I are lucky enough to interview him also. And, you always left just feeling a lot better about kind of everything. And he was funny. Like there was not taking yourself too seriously, which was a great part about Bill Walton, because he was definitely criticized early in his career. I think, the documentary touches on this about how he had a little more of a hippie lifestyle and wouldn't eat meat and stuff like that. And people thought, oh, well, if you just change your lifestyle, maybe you'd stay healthier. Like he got a lot of criticism for sort of just how he was, also very much outspoken about civil rights at a time when that was not a given. Of course, anti-war in the 60s and 70s, which was definitely taking a stance. So there was a lot there to Bill Walton. When you and I interviewed him in Houston, Perloff, at the Final Four, remember he said, at the time we were CBS Sports Radio, goes, Maggie and Perloff, the same network as Edward R. Murrow and Bill Paley. Like, wow, thank you, Bill. Yes, exactly like those two men.
Yeah. But the funny thing too is when he gave that speech, he got a little rhythm going, and he wasn't even looking at us. He was just like and then when Walter Cronkite announced the moon landing, and like when you announced that trade the other day.
Yes. It's like, does Bill Walton know that Perloff's about to put his face into a bowl of chili?
No.
We didn't tell him. He would have loved it, though. Gonna miss Bill Walton. One of a kind. Truly. All right, coming up, we debut a new segment called Old School versus New School.
Meet a Bellotti, 5 days off in a row, but his grumpy demeanor didn't let it show. Back on the Maggie and Perloff show, his frown's as deep as ever. Peter, why the grumpy face? 5 days of freedom, not a single trace of joy or laughter, just that familiar frown. Back on the air, bringing everyone down. We all week and no work this time online. Still that grumpy mood he couldn't leave behind. 5 days off, but it's all the same. Back with the grumble, no one to blame. Peter, why the grumpy face? 5 days of freedom, not a single trace of joy or laughter, just that familiar frown. Back on the air, bringing everyone down. So here's to Bellotti, the days off plenty. Grumpy as ever, his mood's never empty. 5 days off didn't change a thing. Back with a gruff, let's hear the Meet a Bellotti, 5 days off in a row, but his grumpy demeanor didn't let it show. Back on the Maggie and Perloff show, his frown's as deep as ever.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Boston Celtics are through to the NBA Finals. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. That happened late last night. Celtics sweep their way into the finals for the second time in 3 years. The pressure now really ratcheted up on Boston. They've been the best team in the NBA statistically all year long. And so it's most likely going to be Perloff, the best team from wire to wire against the team that's hottest right now in the Dallas Mavericks, who are also up 3-0 against Minnesota.
Yeah, it's going to be a step up in weight class for the Celtics. Honestly, you can't really learn anything from this East, right? Like, how are they going to respond under pressure? It's a completely different conversation because there wasn't once Haliburton got hurt, there was no more pressure for the Pacers. So I think I'm not going to be the first person to say it's one of the easiest runs to a finals we'll ever see, just based on injuries.
Okay, but even if, and I know that's kind of been tinged as a negative for the Celtics, like, oh, you had this red carpet rolled out for you to get all the way to the finals, but they've been pretty dominant. They've only lost 2 games. So they had some crunch time moments in this series that could have gone either way. They definitely should have lost game 1, but the Pacers couldn't inbound the ball. So the Pacers lost. But it's not like they've been dragged to 6 and 7 game series against these inferior teams. They're taking care of business against lesser competition.
Yeah, see, to me, that means nothing. Like 0. But once they get up against Luka and Kyrie, whatever happened, those games, there's no lesson to be taken from the fact. I mean, Indiana played them surprisingly close with a sort of, first of all, a tired team and then a beat-up team. Honestly, you can't read anything into that because I don't think the challenges that Indiana presented are anything like Dallas's challenges. Very different teams.
Totally.
And also, there's just this chess problem. How do you stop the Mavs? And none of that is a problem against the Pacers.
Okay, but I like this for the Celtics because there's not an obvious answer here. When we were talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, we're like, all right, Jaden McDaniel's going to cover, Kyrie, or Anthony Edwards is going to cover Kyrie, Jay McDaniels is going to cover Luka, and what's happened? Foul trouble, and it's been a disaster. This is actually a point where if I'm the Celtics, I got a couple guys who I think I could throw at Luka Doncic. Maybe I'm putting a little Derek White. I'm obviously going to use Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, problem.
I don't know if I see it that way necessarily.
Well, I think Jaden McDaniels is way too small for Luka. I could have coached better in that situation. So, but that's a problem. Jason Tatum, he'll be in foul trouble in 3 seconds on Luka. And then Jaylen Brown might be the better answer. It's a problem. And who's the problem in that they've gone through in the East? Nobody. So again, credit for going 12-2, but it doesn't mean anything.
At Maggie and Pearl right now on the Twitter, you can answer this question. Are you impressed with the Celtics' run to the NBA Finals? Right now we're polling 71% say no. There's nothing that the Celtics can do to get any kind of respect from NBA fans outside of winning this title this year and then maybe doing it again next year. I mean, again, this is like this goalpost that we just move and move and move. There's so much pressure on the Celtics this year. If they can't get it done, I wonder if you start hearing about breaking them up. I have no idea. I don't know how you break them up, but I don't know. I think that would be a terrible idea, but it's going to be a crazy amount of pressure. And then if they do win, well, you were expected to win. And then, of course, what do we do the very next day is say, well, when are you going to win a second one? Because in the NBA, it feels like you need two almost to really cement yourself as like an all-time team.
There is not a single person in Boston who wouldn't take that problem, Mac.
Of course.
In today's NBA, there's a new champion every year, too. So I think there's a little less pressure. Those guys are not that old. Like, how old are Tatum and Brown?
Yeah,
like,
in their 20s.
To be honest, like they could falter here, say Luka and Kyrie stay hot. They lose this one, they'll be back next year. Sorry, that's just the way it is in the East.
You are welcome to weigh in on this at 855-212-4227. Okay, it is Tuesday, May 28th. We feel like we're the official sort of start of summer here. We wanted to debut a new segment we're calling Old School versus New School.
It's Maggie and Perloff's Old School, New School.
All right. Talking a lot of basketball over the first part of the show. Let's turn our attention to football. And today's first old school, new school question for you is, who did you like watching more? Was it the old school running backs that we all loved, or was it the new school quarterbacks that we have today? So when I talk about old school running backs, who am I talking about?
They give to Peyton on a sweep to the right side. He gets a block from Reeve. Sorry, spins back inside. Ripped by one man, still on his feet. Struggles away at the 20. Still battling. Breaks away at the 15, the 10, the 5, and down to the 4-yard line.
And here goes Earl Campbell. He knocked Robertson on his back.
Beautiful.
5. Oh, what a runner.
Team hands it off to Sanders on the delay, and he has room inside the 20. Breaks the tackle. Touchdown, Sanders.
Okay, so there you go. That's a little flavor of the old school running backs we're talking about. A little Walter Payton, a little Earl Campbell, a little Barry Sanders. Did you like watching that more? Or what about the new school quarterback?
On the move, Mahomes stops, spins, flips it forward for the touchdown.
Boy, is he quick.
Allen on the run and open. John Brown. Oh, my goodness.
Herbert stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it. Touchdown Chargers. What a throw.
Maggie and Perloff, old school, new school Perloff, and we started off with a doozy. Who did you like watching more? Was it the old school running backs or the new school quarterbacks? Generally, the focal point of the NFL offenses back in the day and then today.
I mean, the old school running backs are cooler, right? There's no debate about that. I will give you Mahomes, but generally the quarterbacks of today are tacticians. They're Tom Brady. Like, they're going to kill you with 1,000 paper cuts and have a nice 8-yard pass. Nobody could do anything like Bo Jackson breaking an 85-yard run, or Walter Payton breaking a 90-yard run, or my guy Barry Sanders looks like he's tackled, then he escapes out of the back of the pocket, then he zips around here. There's nothing cooler than a long running back touchdown run. And unfortunately, the way football is today, you see a lot less of that because everybody's back deep to fend off the long pass. So you can't really break an 80-yard run. You need everybody up the line of scrimmage to do that. So I think, to me, it's like there's nothing cooler than seeing these guys like Barry Sanders or Eric Dickerson juke somebody. And the way they run, it's a much cooler athletic thing. It's like a slam dunk compared to a jump shot. It is awesome. There's nothing like seeing a guy break someone else's ankles in the open field. To me, that was the old school running back oriented football. Yeah, overall the game was a little bit slow paced. You had a lot of handoffs, but when they broke one, man, there's nothing more exhilarating in football. Today is a lot. Yes, you have Patrick Mahomes and who else was on there? Josh Allen. But it's more like Kirk Cousins is your typical quarterback today. It's a little boring. It's a little scientific for my taste.
Okay, this is Maggie and Perloff, Old School, New School. It's a segment we're debuting today, right now. We're going to be doing one of these a day, Old School, New School week. And the question is, what did you like watching more? The old school running backs who are the focal point of NFL offenses, like Barry Sanders and like Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, or do you like watching the new school quarterbacks of today, where the quarterbacks at times are the most athletic guy on the field? Give me the new school guys. Give me Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. We played you Justin Herbert. Give me Lamar Jackson. Can I get some old school Cam Newton, new school Cam Newton? I love the fact that now we have the quarterback who's got the ball in their hands all the time, able to make the magic happen. And for so long, the best athletes on the field maybe weren't the quarterback. And now you have so many examples of where they are. It just raises the level and excitement in a football game when you're never out of it. Clock doesn't mean anything because you're always capable of having your quarterback throw a bomb or make some kind of insane play happen to keep the season or the game alive. So I have a lot of respect for the old school running backs. You guys know I'm a Bills fan. I love Thurman Thomas. But if you're asking me who I like to watch more, give me Lamar Jackson. That is fun for me to watch. Can I get a little Mike Vick? Can I get, Josh Allen's cannon arm?
Well,
I'll
it's
take
funny.
that.
It's funny. The quarterbacks you named are basically runners. So the running is Mike Vick. So it's the running that you love. Which side are you on?
I said also Mahomes. Give me also. I have a little Brock Purdy.
You said I heard a lot of Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, Cam Newton there. Guys who are outstanding runners. So apparently you like the ability to run more than throw.
Give me a little Phillip Rivers. Never know what's going to happen.
You had to bring in Phillip Rivers?
Give me Tua. I love this stuff. I love the new school quarterback. And so you are welcome to weigh in on Maggie and Perloff, old school, new school. What'd you like more, watching old school running backs dominate NFL offenses or new school quarterbacks dominating NFL offenses?
Okay. I feel like you have to take out Lamar Jackson. I'll take out Barry Sanders to make this debate more fun. The top three passers last year were Tua, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott. I'm sorry, that's not Michael Vick and Cam Newton.
It's all encompassing.
I just
many
feel like
flavors.
Yeah,
just like Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson weren't the same, but you still get to include
they were
them
both super cool, and their highlights are amazing. I'm sorry, the Jared Goff YouTube reel is not exactly thrilling me. I'm not going to go click on that. Oh, here's a little 9-yard pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Joe Burrow? Is that exciting? I don't know. Yeah, he's clutch. But is he exciting? No.
Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase all day.
Yeah, Jamar
baby.
Chase is exciting.
I love it. 855-212-4227. And Maggie Perloff, Old School, New School is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com.
Yeah. Now, the way I see this debate, I'm taking Eric Dickerson and you get Derek Carr.
No. I get all the new school quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, and you get all the old school running backs.
I think a YouTube reel of an old running back is always more entertaining than a YouTube reel of a quarterback, except for a guy like Lamar Jackson who's juking guys on running. But Lamar Jackson passing is not that exciting. He's just very efficient.
What about a Justin Herbert? We also played that for
you.
The
my God, Justin
arm,
Herbert.
The Josh Allen cannon arm. These guys are so talented.
Yeah, I like to watch a Justin Herbert highlight reel right before I go to bed. It calms me down. It's puts me to sleep. Come on, Justin Herbert. Boring.
Pine Needle
very
in
talented,
the chat
but very boring.
Says running backs are just more exciting. Phil says the running back hurdling a linebacker is my favorite old school play. Well, now you get quarterbacks hurdling linebackers.
Well, actually, the running back hurdling guy, that's more. They do that a lot these days. In college football, you'll see that a lot. In fact, it's quite foolish. I wonder how the old school, you couldn't quite get away with that move.
Let's hit the phones. 855-212-4227. The question is old school, new school. Who did you like watching more? Was it the old school running backs of the Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders variety? More names there. Or do you like watching new school quarterbacks when they're the best athletes on the field? Give you a little Patrick Mahomes. How about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen? Birdie is in Florida. Good morning, Birdie.
Good morning. I'm going to give a little hybrid of your premise, and because I go back to the old days when I grew up in the Oakland area. So it was Stabler to Branch and Biletnikoff was the exciting. So it was almost like a new school for the old school, and like Marv Hubbard was the running back. So he was pretty boring. So Stabler and Branch and those guys were lighting it up back in the old days. So there was some back then there were some exceptions.
Birdie, you're right. We can definitely pick and choose from every era, but we know.
What about Mark Van Egan, dude? What about my guy from Colgate?
Mark Van Egan. Yeah, you know what? I'm the guy. I'm the one guy who was at the Sea of Hands game, and my brother made me leave early. Where right before they were down the Raiders were down about 10 points with a few minutes left, and we had to leave early to beat the traffic. So I heard it on the radio. Yeah.
Well, by the way, we're going to do an old school, new school at some point of the way they used to have nicknames for games. Old school, Sea of Hands. I mean, you don't have Sea of Hands, a Holy Roller, none of that, because that was a much cooler version of the NFL. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thanks.
Thank you, Birdie. All right, a little spin on our premise, but today is the day about old school, new school, and what did you like watching more? Is it the old school running backs or the new school quarterbacks? P. Maddie's in the chat. Old school all day. The rules have changed to make you want to love QBs, and that our pal Jay in Nashville already called the show once from work, said he likes the new school because you don't just get those 3 yards in a cloud of dust games. Now, we are picking the elite of the elite in each of these eras. We're giving you like a Barry Sanders, and we're giving you Patrick Mahomes. We get there's a lot in between.
So if you want to do college football, obviously the whole Billy Sims era, like back Marcus Dupree, all those guys they broke 80-yard runs all the time. Remember Oklahoma, Nebraska in the 80s? I mean, that was crazy, whatever that was. That back then nobody passed like they do now. So it was really a different era, but I love those. I just feel like that you never know when an 85-yard run was going to come. That was kind of cool. Marcus Dupree was my favorite. Oh my God.
See, but that's why I like the new school quarterbacks, because I feel like I'm seeing, 5 wow plays a game when I'm watching Patrick Mahomes. We played a highlight where he's passing lefty. I mean, Matthew Stafford is out here throwing no-look passes. These guys are so good today, and they have the ball in their hands all the time.
Mahomes is such an exception. I mean, he's like Barry Sanders. Who else is throwing it left-handed and no-look passes consistently? He's a wizard. I'll give you that. But if you take Mahomes out, the rest are more like Kirk Cousins.
No, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson are not like Kirk Cousins. How dare you?
Josh Allen was a little more like Kirk Cousins. It might help the Bills.
That's another time, another segment. Delta's in the chat. I like old school running backs because the coaches didn't run stupid shotgun running plays. Fair. Shotgun on 4th and 1.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to put us all in just early retirement. Kevin is in Oregon. Kevin, old school or new school? Old school running backs or new school quarterbacks? Who'd you like watching more?
I'm going to have to go old school, and if it's just based on one thing, I just looked this video up. Flashback to Larry Zonka being the only ball carrier in the history of the NFL to ever receive unnecessary roughness penalty on this Bill safety. He's running down the field. The guy comes up to him. He takes his forearm and just knocks the guy out. I mean, that's the best. I got to have old school.
Kevin, we like it. Thank you so much. Larry Zonka also in the chat, too, has been brought up a couple times. That was a different level.
That dude was an animal.
No kidding. That was
a Great American Gladiators commentator.
Facts.
I mean, how could we forget?
Yeah.
Just multi-talented, really.
You know who's a great highlight, and I hate to say this. O.J. Simpson had some crazy good highlights. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore.
I don't know if you are.
Okay.
He's pretty much been erased from NFL history.
And USC.
I thought you were going to say Emmitt Smith because you're such an Eagles fan. You don't want to give any love to the Cowboys.
There's zero Emmitt Smith highlights. Honestly, he was super boring. He's basically like Emmitt Smith. He never really broke long runs. He was just like 6 yards in a cloud of dust.
Well, I was going to say, though, is you brought up OJ in that essence. The one thing I did think about was how the running backs of the old school were able to kind of transcend even football. Like, you had Jim Brown, who became a movie star. OJ, of course, became a movie star. Like, they had a special it factor about them. And for a lot of those guys, it was kind of the first, black Hollywood stars you saw were some of these running backs, were the first black, broadcasters or whatever.
Right.
A lot of them were these NFL running backs, and I think some of that talks about how they transcended the time that they were playing.
Also, too, I think a lot of that had to do with they won the Heisman. A lot of these guys, running back used to win the Heisman every year. I think a lot of them started major college stardom. You said Jim Brown and OJ. OJ was huge because he went to USC, not because
Marcus Allen as well.
Marcus Allen won the Heisman.
Huge one. It was a huge star.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that I think was more USC than anything. And Charles White and that guy who went to Georgia.
But Marcus Allen
Walker,
also playing for the Raiders. I mean, just iconic franchise too.
Yeah, but he was at USC, and that just defined everything. Like that, he was on an LA trajectory from the start.
Let's go to Daryl's in California. Has a thought as we also, along with our old school, new school debut, also honoring the memory and the legacy of Bill Walton today. Hey, Daryl, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Maggie?
Doing great.
Hey, yeah, I'm just saying. First of all, I'm a lifelong Sixers fan from the days of Julius Erving. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I couldn't stand the Celtics back then. I can't stand them now. Hate to see them in the playoffs. Hate to see them go to the championship. But the one thing I loved is what I still use today from Bill Walton. When I go to high school games, and I got everybody cracking up because when somebody dunks, I go, "Throw it down, big man," like only Bill Walton used to say, And everybody, the older folks kind of look at me and be like, "Hey, that's Bill Walton, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Bill Walton." The kids are like, "What are you talking about?" You know?
It's so true. Daryl, it's a great memory. Bill Walton, we were asking, what part of his incredible life and legacy will you remember the most? Will it be his basketball career, broadcasting, his just activism, his love of the Grateful Dead? I mean, there's just so much when it comes to Bill Walton.
Throw it down, big man.
Am I remembering this right? Was Bill Walton on the call of LeBron James's high school game?
Yes, him and Jay Billis.
Right. With St. Vincent, St. Mary's. I remember watching that.
Jesus, we're not going to make this about LeBron somehow,
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, my God.
Definitely
of all
not
the
gonna
games he called. Okay.
Just a memory.
It was one of the first nationally televised high school games ever, and Bill
And they put
Walton's
Bill
there.
Walton on the call with his joie de vivre.
I do think his broadcast career is interesting only because, of his whole life, he's there's multiple versions. Like his NBA career, there's Celtics Bill Walton, and then there's Blazers Bill Walton.
Right.
His broadcasting career, there's the NBC Bill Walton that I grew up with on NBC Sunday afternoons at my grandparents' house. Yeah, wearing a suit with Steve Snapper Jones, those two guys bickering the whole game. Yeah. And then there's this new version who's just rambling about stuff from the 60s with Dave Pash. Even the jobs and the lives, quote unquote, that he lived, they're separated even through time in those specific fields. So. Definitely an interesting and iconic figure.
No doubt. 855-212-4227. So we're remembering the life and amazing life and legacy of Bill Walton today. We are also debuting a new segment called Old School, New School. And the first question we have for you is, who did you like watching more? Was it the old school running backs of the Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Barry Sanders time, Eric Dickerson? You can throw in, who else do you want in there? Tony Dorsett, whoever was important to you. Old school running backs, Larry Zonka, or new school quarterbacks? Do you like watching Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, these exciting, Justin Herbert, these exciting QBs that we have today? 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Of course, we're playing The Dead to honor Bill Walton, who passed away at 71, sadly. We're doing a new segment today on the show called Old School versus New School. We started off with a fun one. Old school running backs versus new school quarterbacks. Which do you prefer more? Which is cooler to you? And I went running backs. Maggie went quarterbacks. But let me ask you this, Maggie.
Yeah. Who do you like watching more? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the best highlight of any quarterbacks you've ever seen?
Barry
to me,
Sanders.
Quarterbacks.
Oh, I'm sorry, quarterbacks.
To me, the two coolest quarterback highlights are one, Michael Vick splitting the two defenders against Minnesota, running the football.
Yeah.
The other is when Lamar Jackson jukes that guy in high school at the goal line. That's my favorite. Tom Brady talked about that highlight the other day. It's the greatest quarterback highlight where Lamar Jackson's running the end zone, just stops at a dime, and three people run past him. So your argument about quarterbacks, what makes them great is their ability to run. Quarterback, by definition, is a more important position, but cooler, more fun. When they break one, it's exciting. When they break somebody's ankle, it's awesome. Is an old school break an 80-yard run running back, not the methodical, scientific, floor general quarterback of today.
Well, I'm not picking Tom Brady necessarily in my new school quarterbacks argument, but I do love an Aaron Rodgers who I think fits here. And it's not just about the running quarterbacks. I think some of the great improvisation by quarterbacks that we have today, like a Patrick Mahomes to go lefty, to keep a play alive, or Matthew Stafford throwing no-look passes in the Super Bowl. And Matthew Stafford isn't even known as like this great running quarterback by any stretch. It's just how athletic the quarterbacks are now, and just how at any point you have a possibility of an electrifying play because they have the ball in their hands all the time. The running back position has been marginalized. The quarterback position is the thing, and these quarterbacks are unreal these days. And so give me the new school quarterbacks versus the old school running backs.
I mean, you did have some quarterbacks who were doing wacky things back in the day. Archie Manning was crazy. Ever see highlights of that guy? He was running for his life and throwing a left-handed, right-handed, any possible way he could. Caller mentioned Kenny Stabler. He was doing all sorts of unorthodox. Quarterbacks were quirky back in the day.
But there was no Cam Newton back then.
Well, there were gigantic running quarterbacks. I think, there was a lot of running quarterbacks back in the day.
But these guys...
They're more dual threats.
Exactly.
I'll give you that. But it's so much easier to pass. The rules are all about passing now. If you couldn't touch the quarterback and you couldn't touch a receiver in the 70s, you would have had these guys. Athletically, I think it's a cooler achievement to be Eric Dickerson or Barry Sanders than to be a guy who could throw 80 yards down the field. Because you say Tom Brady doesn't count, but most quarterbacks aspire to be Tom Brady. Run a smart offense. What did Patrick Mahomes do so well last year? Stop throwing it left-handed and took the check down. I just think quarterbacks these days are a little bit boring.
It doesn't erase. I just don't know how you come up with that.
I think the receivers are thrilling. Like Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, those guys are highlight machines. I'm not sitting and watching a Justin Herbert highlight reel. Like, what good is that?
Oh, I mean, because I appreciate the arm. I mean, Justin Herbert, unfortunately, hasn't won anything yet, but look what's going to happen now with him and Jim Harbaugh. I just think these guys are so exciting.
Who's more exciting in Miami? Style play. Tua Tagovailoa or Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle?
Okay, you're going to be Tyreek Hill.
Who is...
That I mean, you're giving me a high bar to clear here if you're just going to say Tyreek Hill, but I'm giving you guys like Mahomes and Allen who can make any receivers look good, especially Mahomes. I mean, some of these guys, that's the whole thing about how great the Chiefs are, is that besides Travis Kelce, who's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, some of these dudes, it's not exactly murderer's row. No, he makes them look great.
Mahomes is tough. I'll give you Mahomes is pretty awesome.
Well, because here's the thing. If we can cherry pick, right? Like if you want to say, well, Fran Tarkenton was doing all this stuff back then. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I can give you Saquon Barkley looks like he at times is doing a Barry Sanders impersonation. So
right, and how long did that last? Like a week?
Well, for your Philadelphia Eagles, you have to hope that lasts more. But there's always going to be guys who transcend. But I think people know it when they see it, right? When we're asking old school versus new school, what did you like watching more? Was it the old school running backs when the NFL offenses were all predicated around the running back? Or is it now about the new school quarterbacks where the offenses really are predicated around the quarterback?
If you have to watch one YouTube reel, is it Justin Herbert or Eric Dickerson?
I'm going to go to the phones. 855-212-4227. John is in Boise. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, guys. I got to go with Perloff. I got to go with old school running backs. You know, you talked about Earl Campbell, but in the 80s, 90s, you had Marcus Allen, Eric Dickerson, Christian Okoye, Ickey Woods, Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas. It's like, what better time was there for football for running backs? And if you go back and look at any of those guys' highlight reels, it's just, bowling over linebackers, just getting the hard yards. And it's to me, that's what I would rather look at.
John, thank you for the call. Thank you for weighing in. I think a lot of people are on your side. Are we doing a poll on this today, EJ?
We are. It's already out.
There you go. At Maggie and Pearl. Bogusch, what do you think? Are you old school running backs or are you new school quarterbacks? Put you on the spot.
Well, I hate to side with my former friend, Andrew Perloff, but it is old school running backs. And he posed the question perfectly. Like, if you had to go to YouTube and watch a highlight reel, you're picking probably 8 running backs before you get to your first quarterback.
Yeah,
At least I would.
Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are good highlight reels.
Aaron Rodgers highlights, guys. These are awesome.
No, a sidearm throw. Break 4 tackles. Give me Earl Campbell running out of his jersey because guys are pulling at it.
What's the Aaron Rodgers highlight?
Aaron Rodgers has incredible
He's
highlights.
got a crazy arm, but I don't know. It just all looks the same. That's why he's so awesome, because he repeats the same mechanics over and over again, whereas running backs had to get a little more creative.
You are welcome to weigh in. Again, you can call us 855-212-4227. You can weigh in on YouTube. You can be in our chat, which is a ton of fun. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sportsnet, and also the absolutely free to download Odyssey app. We're up and running here. Odyssey app's looking good. We're good. Got the zeros and ones figured out, so you can always hit us on the app. All right, we got headlines.
Is that a binary reference?
Yeah. Computers run on zeros and ones, so I guess
sometimes they get crossed up.
One more late thievery has the Boston Celtics back in the NBA Finals.
Jalen stops on a dime, dribbles to the middle of the floor, jump pass into the corner. Derek White for 3. Got it! Derek White from the right corner has given Boston a 105-102 lead.
Sean Grande, Celtics Radio, 105-102, the final in Indy last night, giving Boston the sweep. Its second finals trip in 3 years, 23rd overall. The Pacers led 102-98 with 3:32 left last night and didn't score again. The third time they could have or should have won a game in this series and did not. Joe Mazzulla on again avoiding defeat.
We just had to chip away at it and just continue to execute. And we did a good job holding them to one shot, did a good job executing. So I thought the guys just did a great job kind of staying present, embracing the moment.
Mazzulla got 29 points from Jaylen Brown to earn series MVP honors. Jason Tatum put up 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists. And now they hang out. The finals don't start until next Thursday, whether or not the Mavs sweep the T-Wolves tonight. Game 4 in Dallas. Derek Lively doubtful because of his neck sprain from Game 3. Luka Doncic, again listed as questionable to keep up the ruse that he's actually hurt.
That's cute. Neck strain from Lively.
Yeah.
It's like, I think we're watching enough football to know that guy got whacked in the back of the head and then was dazed. I don't know if that's a neck strain.
That's a good thing.
Looked dazed.
That's a good thing for the Mavs to have him be able to wait till the finals for that. That's a huge addition.
Yeah, I mean, didn't it look like a concussion to everyone else who was watching? I mean, I'm not trying to play doctor here, but that looked bad.
Right, and I think it's really good for them because to let a concussion clear a week is a nice thing.
Yeah.
So he'll be able to play.
Guard DJ Wagner is the latest player to follow John Calipari from Kentucky to Arkansas. Wagner averaged 9 points and 3 assists as a freshman last season. He makes 3 Wildcats and 3 high school commits to trade the Cats for the Razorbacks.
Does that mean Arkansas gets a 2 or 3 seed and loses in the first round now? Is that...
I do wonder how excited do you get if you're an Arkansas fan? These are the same players that lost at Kentucky.
I know.
I mean, they took basically Kentucky's roster.
It does feel like he's recreating this sort of young, talented team that might not be ready for a tournament.
I don't know. It feels like the way, too. I'd be a little worried, I think. I mean, I don't know. I
agree with Maggie, though. I think would you take that? But
they're still in the glow here. Like, they're still in the, we got him, love Calipari. Yeah. He's going to inject something into our program.
Yeah.
Not that they were terrible before, but you know what I mean.
I guess, and I know Eric Musselman's last season there wasn't great, but I don't know. I feel like they're walking into, like, whatever Eric Musselman did for them, which was pretty good.
A lot,
I feel like they're kind of, the ceiling for Calipari feels like what Eric Musselman did. I don't know what, just for me, I haven't seen him be a championship caliber coach or a Final Four caliber coach in more than a decade. So, I mean, your big move is to go re-recruit the guys you had at Kentucky that just lost to Oakland. I mean, all right, not that impressed.
The Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers still alternating wins in the NHL's Western Conference Final.
Dallas still keeps possession. Robertson in deep. Baked it. He scored! A hat-trick goal! Robertson outweighted Skinner, looked for a window, banked it off him and in. And with 8:06 to go, Robertson's hat trick gives Dallas the 4-3 lead.
And they took Game 3, 5-3 to Edmonton for a 2-1 lead. That highlight, of course, from Stars Radio. The Seattle Kraken expected to hire Dan Bylsma as the second head coach in team history today. Bylsma has coached their top minor league affiliate the last 2 years. He led the Penguins to the Stanley Cup back in 2009. Hasn't had a top NHL job, though, since 2014.
But another guy in that rotation, though.
Yeah, but at least this one's had some space, a decade working his
That's
way
true.
back in. He didn't get hired or fired last Tuesday, and then got this job.
Now, does he enter that rotation where he starts getting fired and hired again?
Yeah, now he's back in.
He's back in the cycle.
Yes, he's got his union card again.
The wash, rinse, repeat
Yeah.
of NHL coaches.
Baseball last night, the Mariners held off the Astros 3-2. The Padres got a 2-1 win over the Marlins. That's back-to-back home wins for San Diego after 5 straight losses there. And the infamous Angel Hernandez is retiring after reportedly reaching a financial settlement with MLB. Hernandez, 62, worked 32 big league seasons. He sued MLB back in 2017 for discrimination, but that suit was quickly dismissed in district court, and that decision then upheld on the appeals level.
I would bankrupt the league to get him out of here.
Just pay him whatever he's asking for.
Get lost.
Just whatever it takes.
32 seasons, Bogus. Sound like 32 seasons too many.
Sound like
That's me.
79 seasons the way he umpired.
Felt like a lot of seasons.
Oh,
Pay him as much as he wants for as long as he wants, as long as it takes him away from people, Adi.
If you go down the rabbit hole, you probably can find one bad call every year.
Every year. Every month.
Yeah.
Every game.
I mean, first of all, we're talking about bad umpires. Me and Bogus were in the same building to see another great umpire call balls and strikes, the great C.V. Bucknor.
Yeah.
On Saturday at the Mets game.
So he's the new Angel Hernandez,
Were you
by
guys
the way.
hanging out together?
He's the new.
You guys hanging out without us?
We could not have been farther away. I bought tickets just to get in the building Saturday morning. So my official tickets were in the upper deck between home and first. I texted EJ because I'd heard him say he was going to be there.
Yeah.
His section was in single digits.
Nice.
So I waved to him from above.
Well, that's where you got to do that thing with the ushers where you're like, hey, my friend, I'm just going to see my friend down there. Slip him $20 and then
it felt
you're
like he was in
going.
a place where they actually pay attention, the ushers.
They definitely did.
Yeah.
They definitely did. I'm not gonna
$20
lie.
would get you far in not only the U.S. Open
That is
there,
true.
also any stadium in the borough of Queens. $20 get you far.
I'd pay $20 to get higher from the Mets, farther away from the field.
You get a good vantage point.
How about
It was
this
a rough
for
game Saturday, too, so yeah, I can't blame you.
Angel
compared to
Hernandez?
others.
Angel Hernandez, I saw this at USA Today. 3 overturned calls at first base in Game 3 of the 2018 ALDS. 3 at first.
The fact that he was allowed to work in ALDS is a crime.
Well, I mean, he was suing the league. And then this one was another interesting note. And I feel bad because he had a back injury. So he only worked 10 games, but had missed 161 calls in 10 games. It's impossible.
He missed 16 calls a game?
That's what it says, according to Umpire Auditor, as I'm reading this in USA Today.
That's a great follow, by the way, on Twitter if you want to be angry early in the morning and see how bad these guys are. And sometimes how good they actually are.
He should be arrested for that. That is ridiculous.
Did you guys see? So, it was kind of a weird juxtaposition because obviously Bill Walton passes away. So there's this outpouring of people with positive memories about Bill Walton and how much he inspired them and how they loved him and what he meant to them and all these different walks of life. And then the Angel Hernandez news came out, and it was like the exact opposite. You had CeCe Sabathia, who was basically celebrating, and other pitchers, former pitchers, who were celebrating the fact that Angel Hernandez is gone.
As I was walking into the studio, I saw a tweet that was like, you know what? He wasn't always bad. Let's be nice for a day. And here are some of Angel Hernandez's good calls. And the next tweet in the thread was, that's all I got. Best of luck. There are actually no good calls to celebrate.
What's a good call?
The right call.
A right call in a big spot.
In a good big spot. I would say 32 years, you got to get some calls, right? I imagine.
No,
I'd imagine. He was technically right on occasion.
Technically right. Wow.
I was singing Living in America when I heard this news. unbelievable.
And EJ is not wrong. When I walked into Citi Field and I looked at home plate for the first time, CB Buckner is so infamous that I knew it was him just by like his silhouette.
Yeah.
No, not even his call.
Just
looking at him, I go, "That's CB Buckner. This is going to be a long day." And it was for other reasons. But I mean, that's how bad he is, that you just know him by his stature.
So obviously we're in this very much, but there's a couple, I think, refs or umpires now who you see, and it's like Scott Foster, you're like, oh, well, did anyone see Tony Brothers last night? And you're like, oh, Tony Brothers is in the game.
The one. Yeah,
Who's
right
reffing
now.
this game tonight to make sure we have a game 5?
Scott
just
Foster,
to give
I'm
some
sure.
extension to this round.
Angel Hernandez, he needs a job. Right?
They picked him up in the NBA just for the Western Conference Finals.
Thank God. But CB Buckner is one of them, and a lot of these young umpires aren't great either. So there's going to be another Angel Hernandez popping up here soon.
Yeah.
It's not completely out of the picture.
It's ending soon. They're going to the computer. We all know it.
The robot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Angel Hernandez staying in the game probably would have helped. The robots are coming.
Well, Manfred said
Sounds ominous.
not next year.
Yeah, not next
so
year.
So it has to be 26 then.
Yeah, can you imagine the NFL if there was one guy who was like this bad that they could overturn with video? He'd be gone already, right?
Yeah.
Actually, maybe there is.
I think some people think that about
Yeah, but it's hard. I think it's
Sean
harder.
Hockley's son.
It's hard to control
No, that is Sean
a game.
Hockley. It's Ed Hockley's son.
Ed Hockley's son. I'm sorry.
If there's a third Hockley, I'm out.
Is Sean Hockley that much worse? Who's the guy? There's a couple guys that people really have an issue with. A couple crew chiefs.
I think Hockley, people think is a little look at me with some of the calls. Like they'll call a lot of holding and stuff early in the game.
But there never is a ref or an umpire or whatnot or an official in the NFL that you're like Angel Hernandez. There's not that one. I can't think of it.
I think we're just not thinking of it because we're not in season.
I just don't think you can control a game.
Well, yes. Like Andrew Hernandez being behind the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Cheffers is pretty controversial, right?
He's got the same kind of thing, I think, that like Scott Foster does, where it's like Chris Paul's never won a playoff game with Scott Foster as the ref. I think Carl Cheffers has something like that about Arrowhead.
Yeah, and I think with the NFL guys, it's about like the way they are referees, like the way they get on the mic. Like it's not like it's more of a personality thing than this dude doesn't doesn't know how to call snap correctly.
Brad Allen, people
That was
didn't
remember
like.
he had that Lions Cowboys. He had some,
he got moved off of the game.
Yeah, he had a couple of bad moments last season.
That's true.
I never heard of him
the-
until last year.
He was the Cowboy Lion.
Yes.
With
But also,
an eligible receiver.
There's no official who can impact a game like calling balls and strikes. That's
Right.
the whole game.
Exactly.
I mean, that's 99% of the work.
And in the NFL, it's more of the minutia of the actual rules that we really harp on more than the actual officials.
Yeah. Also in the NFL, who the hell knows what's going on
What's
with
a
some
catch?
of these
What-
calls?
yeah,
Yeah,
what's
what's a
not a
catch?
catch?
We have no clue.
Right, but and a referee's not making that call. And we don't know head linesmen, back judge names. So those guys make bad calls all the time. We don't know specifically who to yell at.
Right, just get off the field and play. Let's go.
Well, the chain gang's gone, so that's positive. And now Angel Hernandez is retired, so the villagers rejoiced. 855-212-4227. We get back to our old school, new segment we debuted today. What did you like watching more, old school running backs or new school quarterbacks? Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds.
45 days off in a row, but his grumpy demeanor didn't let it show.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Perloff show, his frown as deep as ever, you know. Peter, why grumpy face? 5 days of freedom, not a single trace of joy.
Honoring Bill Walton today, the one way we know how, which is playing all Grateful Dead music for the man who was easily their most famous fan. We also debuted, and it's sad that Bill Walton passed away yesterday at the age of 71. And we will talk more about Bill Walton and his legacy with award-winning author and best-selling author Jack McCallum, who covered the NBA for years for Sports Illustrated and had a very close relationship with Bill Walton. We also debuted a new segment. It's called Old School versus New School, Perloff. And today we're asking you, who did you enjoy watching more? Was it the old school running backs of the Walter Payton and Earl Campbell and Barry Sanders time? Or do you like watching the new school quarterbacks of today, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, Josh Allens? You can weigh in. Our pal Big Friendly is in California. Good morning, Big Friendly.
Good morning, Magazine Malone. EJ the EP, Bilotti Gotti, 411, you're close to being demoted to the Yellow Pages. And the one, the only, Daddy Cool. Now, Daddy Cool, let's rap real quick.
What
I'm over here, Big Friendly, being your tag team partner, taking the bumps. You're over here with an Ivy League education with an online college comedy routine. Come on, my man.
What did I get wrong?
Come on, man. You over here disrespecting the boys in blue in their bubble championship. Big Friendly had to call a psychiatrist this weekend.
Wait, the Dodgers?
You said the Dodgers bubble championship didn't count.
But I gave you the Lakers, Big Friendly. I had to defend the Lakers against Maggie.
Yeah, that one's
I know you did, and I appreciate that. But I ain't seen the Dodgers hoist that trophy since '88. And I had to watch them. See what happened against the Astros. So forgive me for just being proud. But Bilotti, my man, Bilotti, can I rap you for 1 second?
Sure.
Bilotti, how's the family doing? How you doing?
I'm well.
I'm well. Okay, Bilotti.
All right, glad you guys could catch up by the water cooler. What else you got?
Bilotti, I got this envelope. Okay, Maggie, so let's go real quick. Bilotti, I got an envelope for you full of some fazols with some names. If you could just give an Indian burn or a Charlie horse to let them know the Rams disrespect won't be tolerated. Maggie.
Okay.
On the new school, old school.
Yes. That's the topic of today. Did you like watching, rather, old school running backs or new school quarterbacks?
Well, when it comes to old school and new school running backs and quarterbacks, when you brought up Josh Allen, Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, those are extensions of Randall Cunningham. He wasn't exciting. Are we forgetting the pass against the Giants to Ernest Biner?
I'm not. We're just saying on the whole, because I could tell you that Saquon Barkley sometimes looks like Barry Sanders. So we know that there are guys who transcend where they are, like where they're playing. But Big Friendly, old school running backs when they were the focal point of the offense versus the new school quarterbacks where they're the focal point of the offense.
Well, I think we live in an age now. Back in the day when you had a Christian Okoye and you had a Bo Jackson, you had a Roger Craig, you had a Mike Allstott, guys didn't want to tackle these guys in the third and fourth quarter.
Nope.
So you would just pound them down, and then you watch. I mean, guys like Barry Sanders, Sweetness never ran out of bounds. Yeah. So if you ever watched Walter Payton, it was going to be a collision wherever he went. Christian Okoye never ran out of bounds.
Sure.
Bo Jackson never ran out of bounds.
Earl Campbell. No, I get it. I have a lot of respect for them. We're just talking which one would you rather watch, and I went with the new school on this one.
I agree. And before you let me go, Maggie, and I agree with you, new school has a lot of exciting things to watch that old school doesn't, and vice versa. But I'll just give you this, and I got to get back to work. Maggie, are you telling me there was any other more exciting quarterback to watch on the field or in an interview than Jim McMahon? The man was drinking a beer in his very first interview.
Oh, Big Friendly. Landed the plane on that one. Coming up, Jack McCallum remembers Bill Walton.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Remembering the life and legacy of Bill Walton today. He passed away yesterday at the age of 71. He was battling cancer, and we throw around words like icon and legend, Perloff, and we probably overuse those terms, but when you're talking about Bill Walton, it absolutely fits. He was one of a kind and was so larger than life in both his basketball career, his broadcasting career, his activism, his love of the Grateful Dead. There's just so many aspects of Bill Walton that were fascinating, and we are remembering him today. So to do that properly, let's welcome in a friend of ours, the very talented, the best-selling author and award-winning author, Jack McCallum. New book out called The Real Hoosiers, which we do want to talk about. But Jack, obviously you knew Bill Walton well. We're sorry for your loss. Describe the maybe side of Bill Walton you got to see that not many others did.
Well, what's been extraordinary it was almost a mourn-a-thon yesterday, guys. You go on Twitter, and it was honestly unlike anything I've seen with almost anybody, because 99% of the people writing about Bill didn't even mention him being a center. There was very few. Even the 21 of 22 game, you say that to anybody in basketball, oh, the 21 out of 22 game, that's what he made about Memphis State in the 1973 NCAA Finals. That was almost hardly mentioned. It was all about, oh, I met Bill Walton once. and he did this for my father, or he took this photo. So this kind of warmth about a player was honestly unlike anything I ever saw. But to answer your question, I'll go to one moment, which I never did quite figure it out. Bill was broadcaster for the Clippers at this time. And this was early 2000s, the aughts, 01, 02, I can't remember. And there were two delightful knuckleheads on his team, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson. Good guys, a little bit of knuckleheads. They had this thing of flashing their hands in front of their face after they made a basket like they were going to win the NCAA title. So I just come into the locker room before the game, and Bill calls them over. Hey, Darius, Q, get over here. This is Jack McCallum. He's been covering this league for a long time. There's people like him you have to show respect to, and not be like he was a sort of an instructor at a military school. And Quentin and Darius, like two of these delightful, as I call them, nicely so, knuckleheads, are sort of like, oh, yes, Mr. Walton. Yes, I hear you. I'll be very nice to Mr. McCallum. I'm sure as soon as we left, it was kind of like, who the hell's that guy? We don't care about that guy. But it was this respect shown to this Clippers broadcaster who they had never seen play live. And I could never quite figure that out, why Bill did that. He knew I didn't need them, for my report. It wasn't for me. It was kind of for them, that he was kind of like doing this lesson thing. And amid all the other sides of Bill, I always remembered that like very, very fondly.
Jack, as a player, go back to 1977. He leads the Blazers past the Sixers. What was the expectation at that time of who Bill Walton was going to be as a pro? Was he going to be, we're going to talking about him with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a pro, right, before the injuries?
This is the age still, guys, of the dominant center that we have to. We're coming out of Bill Russell. He's been gone now a few years. We're coming out of Wilt. Wilt is gone. But this perpetuated itself, remember, up through the early 80s when Michael Jordan was taken third, because he wasn't a center. So this is when Bill was taken. Bill's taken in 74. So this is 77 that you're talking about. Yes, we still need that guy. Kareem had one with the Bucks one time in the early 70s with Oscar. We still need that center. So Bill Walton was looked upon as the model. Back to the basket, shot close to the basket, got every rebound offensively and defensively that he was supposed to get, guarded his man, the other big centers, slid off his man to block a shot without getting in foul trouble, grabbed the rebound, started an outlet, started the fast break, sometimes got down there to finish, and when he was in position, ran the offense through him. Walton checked every box. Better, I guess you'd have to go to Kareem. I mean, Kareem was a better defensive player than people remember. So you would have to go to Kareem, which you did, as a measure of comparison for a guy that did everything you wanted to do as a center. That was Bill Walton at that stage of his career before his feet started becoming, his feet.
Jack McCallum is joining us, the best-selling author and basketball scribe who is sharing memories of Bill Walton after Bill passed away yesterday at the age of 71. And Bill Walton's intellect, Jack, is another thing that people keep coming back to, his basketball IQ. You just mentioned and illustrated sort of how he kind of did everything on the court. How about his smarts? And then when he teams up with Larry Bird and that 85-86 Celtics team, your memory of that?
Well, that team is that 85-86 team. That is, I look at that so fondly. That happened to be my first year. I mean, I had covered the NBA, but that was my first year on the beat. You're going to go cover the beat. And you have to remember what it was like then. It was Lakers Celtics. Michael came into the league 84, 85, but it's a Laker Celtic league. And the Lakers had won, the Celtics had won. So now we're in 85, 86. And the Lakers had just won in 85. And everything those two teams did was geared toward beating the ass of the other team. That's what they had to do. Jordan's coming, but they didn't have to beat him yet. Celtics had to beat the Lakers. So my first assignment on the beat is to wait, they got Bill Walton? I mean, you have to understand how unusual this is. Bill had won, as you alluded to, 77 NBA championship with Trailblazers, won the MVP the next year of the league. Then he's gone. He's virtually gone. He's gone with an injury, completely gone, for I think 3 or 4 years. Then he comes back. He's with the Clippers. Nobody paid any damn attention to the Clippers. He was into the lineup, out of the lineup, back and forth, back and forth. So he's like, I described it in one place as like he's in the midst of history. When they bring him back, there are people in the league who never saw him play. So nobody knows how this is going to go. Nobody knows, no matter what they said. And they bring him back at the center as the sixth man. I mean, from the beginning, that was his designated position. He was going to be the sixth man of the Celtics. And that was at one time Kevin McHale. Now they have Parrish, McHale, Bird in the lineup, 3 big guys. And nobody knew how this was going to go. And the only way it was going to go was if Walton adopted to this role. And you're talking about a guy we talked about earlier who is in the galaxy of college stars and was a former MVP in the league. Now he's coming off the bench. And fortunately for him, there was this mutual respect. I mean, Bird always said, I'm not sure it's true or not, but Larry always said it, that Bill Walton was his model growing up. That's what he always said. I mean, they didn't play the same way, but that's what Bird always said. And Walton, for his part, couldn't have admired anybody more than Larry Bird. So I would say, number one, that working had to do with that relationship. And that relationship was built on IQ, basketball IQ, because Bill Walton was like, he was never in the wrong place on the basketball court. If he's supposed to be here, he's there. And Bird had a little bit of unpredictability to his game, no matter how much we call him the fundamental, white guy star. Bird was a little bit, could be a little bit, you didn't know what he was going to do. And Bill just figured that out. And the key to those Celtics, that 85, 86 team, when they were so good, was Bill adopting to his role and being able to play with Bird. And then number 3, off the court, they got along so well that Walton seemed to unite. There wasn't a McHale faction and a Bird faction, but they weren't always like this. They bumped heads a little bit. Larry wondered about Kevin's work ethic, and Kevin always took a lot of crap from Larry. That's just the way Larry was. I mean, it was no big deal, but it could have been a small deal. And Larry came in and united this team because everybody, whatever else was going wrong, they could always get on Bill. And when I Bill in that year, I can't do it without Kevin McHale talking about Bill. And every single time you had a conversation with McHale, he would start imitating Bill. I can't do it right because it sounds like I'm making fun of stutterers, because Bill at that time still did stutter a little bit. But Kevin would always go into this, hey, Larry, what are you talking about?
Oh, gosh.
And it was just a level of hilarity when you went to their practices. They were the most chemically locked-in team that I had ever seen, and it was so much fun being around them. I was so lucky to have made that team my first year covering the league as a beat, so I'll never forget it.
Jack, how do you reconcile the stories, and it was well covered in the documentary about him having these suicidal thoughts and depression because of all the pain problems, and this fun-loving person that so many people are calling us about who had these wonderful interactions with him? How can he get that low and also be so high at different times?
That's a good question. I mean, you have to think how many Bill Waltons there were. In the Bill Walton that people don't really remember too much. You remember the injured one. You remember the 1977 MVP when they beat the Sixers. But a couple of years before that, there was a real angry, I'm not going to say depressed, that's the wrong word to use, but antagonistic, hostile Bill Walton. When he was in Portland and this whole thing was going on about with his friend Jack Scott, and Jack Scott supposedly knew where Patty Hearst was. I'm talking now, I'm sure some of your listeners are going, what? The hell's Patty Hearst? But there was a whole thing going on with the kidnapping of this heiress. And Bill was really in the middle of it. It didn't seem like the nice UCLA smoking a little pot, getting arrested for Vietnam protests. This was a very serious, hostile kind of Walton that was presented as being against the American government. And he really protested very stridently, and protected his friend Jack Scott, who was wanted by the FBI. Furthermore, Bill he was never a smooth operator. You know what I mean? He'd show up, had the beard, flannel shirt. At that time, he was still stuttering. So he presented himself in a way that was not very, likable to most of America. So now Bill kind of redeems himself with basketball in 1977. But, there's all those years when he's sort of gone, and he appears as a main character in Breaks of the Game, which a lot of people call the greatest basketball book ever written by David Halberstam, about those Portland Trailblazers when they're trying to figure out what the hell to do with Bill and his feet. He's mad at the surgeons. He won't get operated on. He does get operated on. So when I met him for the first time, when I was talking about in 1985, that was the first time I ever met him. I didn't cover him in college. And I really didn't know what to expect. And when he came across as this very smart, didn't surprise me, but voluble, enthusiastic, all that, it was like he was almost, not to put too much a point on it, but almost reborn when he got to the Celtics. To kind of answer your question, it's almost like that move to the Celtics in 1985 when he became a member of a basketball team that he loved, playing the way he liked to play. It sort of harkened him back to playing under Johnny Wooden. And all I can think of, and I'd rather have Bill say it, and he probably did, but that must have changed him so profoundly and started to turn him into the guy that all of us know now. Funny, sort of Charles Barkley 2.0 type of guy, nary a negative word. And when it's done, when he does offer it, like he used to do with Dave Posh, just so good-naturedly that no one could take any offense to it. Very few people in American culture, and I'm talking about, the entire culture, were able to change themselves the way that Bill did. It's a profound act that I will never forget and wonder when will be the equal of that transformation that he went under.
Jack McCallum is joining us to remember Bill Walton, who passed away yesterday at the age of 71. That's incredible, Jack. I mean, you had this front row seat for Bill Walton in one of the most important years of his professional career. As you mentioned, you were on the beat for the Celtics, the 85-86 season, and then getting to know him so well. Bill is synonymous with basketball, his life. I do want to ask you about another topic that you've tackled recently that is also synonymous with basketball, and that is the movie Hoosiers. But you went back, just to take a little turn away from Bill just for a moment, because you went back to find the story of the real Hoosiers. Again, this is basketball legend and lore. And what did you find when you went back to write your new book, The Real Hoosiers?
Well, I had always known there was this other story about Oscar Robertson and his high school in Indianapolis. And I didn't want to be hypocritical. I said in the book, I love the movie Hoosiers. I mean, I loved it. I knew the screenwriter. I had Angelo Pizzo, the screenwriter, appear in classes I was teaching. But it had undergone a reckoning. The movie, and I noticed, in the George Floyd era, and it had undergone sort of a reckoning that people didn't look upon it as benignly as much of America did. That the story of the black narrative of basketball in Indiana specifically, but in general, was sort of overlooked. And I wanted to go back and was able to do the story through kind of a biography of Oscar Robertson's high school in Indianapolis. And it sort of touches all the bases of, a segregated high school to begin with, the way it was under-resourced. And then the fact that there's a lot more to it, but the fact that when Oscar came along in the early 50s, that it sort of brought this renaissance not only to basketball in Indiana, but also to the high school and how important it was. And, to balance it with talking about Bill, Bill was able to build this whole life. I'm not even going to say persona because it's his personality. It's what he did. It's not an act. He kept up his association with basketball for decades and decades, and it would have gone on. I mean, 71 is I'm older than that, and that's too young to die. And Oscar, by contrast, did not. That Oscar became a little forgotten, that he became just a number when we were, and, I was guilty of it too. The only time we mentioned him was Russell Westbrook, in the crusade for triple doubles about, 6 or 7 years ago. That was the only context we have of Oscar Robertson. So I hope the book, The Real Hoosiers, does a little bit toward remembering this kind of forgotten story and remembering Oscar, who should be so much more a part of the NBA than he is.
Jack, unfortunately, we're out of time. I have a quick question that I have to ask you. Give me a historical comp for Luka Doncic. What's the first name that pops into your head?
Somebody texted me or emailed me the other day and said, Luka equals Oscar with a question mark. And I started thinking about it. There wasn't the 3-point dimension. But since you asked me quickly, and I'd probably have to take a half hour to think, I'm going to give you this answer. Oscar got people on his body and took them wherever. Oscar used to come down the court and he could have gone, I'm going right there to the, foul line extended, and you're not going to be able to do a goddamn thing about it. And that is sort of Doncic. The one dimension that Doncic has that Oscar didn't, but probably shows how great Oscar was, is that alley-oop passes back when Oscar was playing. I would like somebody to do a history of that, when that came in, because Oscar didn't have this dimension of somebody flying. He's got somebody on his back, and now he can shoot, he can hit somebody in the corner, he can do whatever he wants to do. But that dimension of somebody also flying toward the basket, and being able to, that pass Doncic made when he shovels with his, almost like, I don't even know what he's doing. Where's he going with the ball? Well, there he's gone, like 2 feet above the net. So I'm going to say that quickly. And if I ever come back, in a year, I'll try to think of somebody better.
Well, certainly sooner than that, Jack. And thank you again for joining us to share your memories of Bill Walton and also another amazing Jack McCallum book out right now, The Real Hoosiers. Jack, you know what big fans we are of you. Dream Team 7 seconds or less. We tell you all the time how much we appreciate your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate that, Jack McCallum. And you know what? I was thinking about it when Jack was talking about Bill Walton and about how and you asked a great question, the depths and the lowest he got where he's contemplating suicide because of all the pain that he's in physically, this back pain and everything, to the highs of sort of being like America's quirky uncle, kind of thing. And this basketball legend, obviously. I was thinking about another person. That's like a George Foreman type thing for me, too. Foreman was in a deep depression after he lost to Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle and then kind of went through a transformation where then he becomes, the George Foreman grill. And he's got a smile and he's this great businessman. And it's hard to do. I mean, to pull yourself up like that.
Oh, 100%. And it's really interesting. I maybe had heard a couple things about sort of the early process, but the pun of being high, I think Bill Walton would have appreciated that.
Yes, I think he would have.
He would have enjoyed that line, too. Oh, highs. I see where you're going.
He does like to say that it was, he enjoyed the highs a lot.
He would have enjoyed that.
Yeah. Okay, 855-212-4227. Again, huge thank you to Jack McCallum for sharing his memories of Bill Walton. We've got your memories of Bill Walton. We're asking, what will you remember him for most? He lived 100 lives inside of one life. The basketball, the broadcasting, the activism, the love of the Grateful Dead, everything that went along with Bill Walton. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff straight ahead.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie Perloff Show. Great remembering Bill Walton with the great Sports Illustrated writer Jack McCallum. I mean, it's amazing. Jack has been reporting on the NBA for 50 years. It feels like yesterday when he talks about the 70s. What an incredible story about Bill Walton. It is amazing, too. Jack had a good point. It's like nobody's talking about basketball. Everyone met Bill at a certain point. It feels like the guy
very out there. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the guy and had so many positive interactions with people as well.
And isn't that like how you'd want to be remembered, just how you made people feel? And the basketball stuff is legendary, broadcaster, but, just this outpouring for everyone who he met. And you'd think it would probably get old after a while to keep signing autographs and photos, and you're 7 feet tall, basically walking into a room and everyone's staring at you. I know it made Kareem Abdul-Jabbar feel very uncomfortable a lot of the time. Bill seemed a little bit more comfortable.
There's a picture of Kareem and Bill that Kareem tweeted out. It's amazing. They look normal size. They look like, oh, there's two normal guys standing next to each other. It's the only time they don't look taller than everybody else.
Fair point. Let's go to the phones. Riley is in Boise as a story about Bill Walton. Good morning, Riley.
Hey, guys. Sad news yesterday. Bill was one of the good guys, the good athletes that you can look up to. I was fortunate enough to meet Bill at a Grateful Dead show in 2019, and he's out in the crowd with all the fans, talking to people, taking pictures. I mean, you just don't see celebrity athletes do that these days, just out with the general public in the crowd. He really did transcend music and sports, and he was equally as famous as a Grateful Dead fan, like you guys had mentioned. He would watch with the crowd, and usually if someone tall stands in front of you at a show, you're kind of irritated. But if it was Bill, you weren't. You were happy to be part of his aura. So just a sad day, a great guy, and a great role model for people.
Riley, thanks for sharing that story with us. And the documentary where you have Bob Weir telling the story about how they said for years, like, Bill, come backstage, come hang with the band. And at first he was really nervous to meet them and wouldn't, because he was a stutterer and, maybe didn't have a lot of confidence. And then obviously became this huge, the most famous fan. He would do the Father Time thing at all their New Year's Eve shows, which was really, really cool.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't know that. So
he would come on stage and he'd be dressed in a costume, and it would have a sash that said Father Time on it. And
no, I didn't know that. That's
legendary
awesome.
Grateful Dead New Year's Eve shows. And obviously the Dead were huge basketball fans. They lend their logo, they helped out the Lithuanian basketball team in 1992 when they were playing the Dream Team, the Tony Kukoc team, and cool stuff. Cool stuff as we remember and celebrate, really, the life of Bill Walton. Andrew Bogusch has headlines for us. Hello.
Hello again. So only the Lakers have been to the finals more. If the Celtics beat the Mavs or T-Wolves in a few weeks, they'd pass LA for the most titles ever, both sitting on 17 as Boston celebrates last night's 105-102 clincher in Game 4 in Indy. The differential courtesy of Derek White's three with 43 seconds left. Jaylen Brown set it up.
We work on that all the time. 2-on-1 reads. They veered it. I was able to get to the paint with Turner on me and just found him. And before I told D-White, just stay ready, it's coming. And that was just a big shot.
Brown also scored 29 to secure series MVP honors. The Pacers led 102-98 with 3.5 minutes to go. Didn't score again. The third game in the series that they gave away late. Not the ending they wanted, but reaching round 3 should help in the future, says Andrew Nembhard.
I've never played a team 7 times or 6 times in a row, so it's an interesting feel, and it was a fun experience, and a lot of things you could kind of reflect on and take into the next season for sure.
Nembhard was the best Pacer last night, 24 points, 10 assists, as Tyrese Halliburton's hamstring kept him out again. Now, the Mavericks could join the Celtics in the finals tonight. They could sweep the T-Wolves in Dallas, and fans in Boston already chanting "Bleep Kyrie" as they celebrated in the streets last night. Maybe they are cursing Jason Robertson in Edmonton. The Stars forward scoring 3 times last night, including the tiebreaker midway through the third period. Dallas turning an early 2-0 hole into a 5-3 win in Canada for a 2-1 series lead. The Panthers host the Rangers this evening with New York leading 2-1. Florida still bothered that Ranger defenseman Jacob Trouba received just a minor penalty for a fairly nasty elbow to the head of Sam Bennett Sunday afternoon. Trouba fined $5,000 yesterday, which brought this snark from Panthers head coach Paul Maurice.
Take the hat, pass it around. Poor lad, poor Jake, won't be able to eat.
Let's pour one out.
That's major
Pretty
Canadian trash talk right there.
I just want to see what's Jacob Trouba's contract. 7 years, $56 million.
Yeah, he's good.
$56 million guaranteed.
$5,000 is Pete money.
Yeah, in 5 years.
Got that in your pocket right now.
Yeah, right.
Carries in small bills.
Yeah, or we buy drinks for Angel Hernandez, your least favorite umpire, retiring effective immediately following a reported financial settlement with MLB. The 62-year-old Hernandez has not worked a game since May 9th while that settlement was being finalized.
He should buy drinks for everybody. Every fan, every team, everybody he's screwed.
He helped everybody because now the robot umps are coming because he was so bad.
That's
and
right.
A couple other guys.
They should name them the Angel Hernandez.
The fleet of robots.
Yes.
I love how we think they're actually robots. Like,
I'm fully picturing a robot.
Like we have Charlie's Angels, you have Pete's Angels.
Yeah, right.
Those are the robot.
It's like the maid
umpires.
from the Jetsons is like zooming out there to call balls and strikes.
And why does everyone agree that these robot umpires are going to be somewhat dangerous to mankind? Like they could easily turn on a crowd and just kill people.
As long as they get a strike, correct.
Again, it's not going to be like the maid from the Jetsons at first base.
How are they going to turn on us? By like shortening the strike zone?
Did you hear what Bellotti just said? As long as they get strikes and balls, okay, he's all right with that.
Listen, humanity will end, but at least it'll properly call the game.
Their first game will also be our last baseball game ever.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, when they start getting on a winning streak, then that's it.
Don't worry. Whenever the end of time comes, the Mets will somehow be involved.
They'll finally be heading to a World Series, and poof.
Yeah. They'll be up 3-0 in the World Series, winning Game 4 9-0, entering the last inning, and the world ends.
Right.
Guys, here comes the asteroid. Keith, Gary, Ron.
So basically, if the Mets are going to be, all we need to do is get to October and we're fine because the Mets will already be long gone at that point.
Right.
A rare loss for the Phillies yesterday, 8-4 in San Francisco. Blake Snell still winless for San Francisco, taking a no decision after allowing 4 runs over 4 innings. 2 flight attendants are suing former Jaguars kicker Brandon McManus for sexual harassment. The team as well for failing to monitor him. The women say McManus made physical contact with them during the team's charter flight to London last September. There was an overall party atmosphere on the flight, violating air safety and federal laws, and that the team should have taken care of all of that. The women are seeking over $1 million in damages and want a jury trial. McManus' lawyer called the claims fictitious and an extortion attempt in a statement last night. Let's wrap things up across the Atlantic. A busy sports weekend included the FA Cup, a huge soccer title match in London. Man U beating Man City to finish a disappointing season with a positive, but that win probably not enough to save the job of manager Erik ten Hag. It also wasn't enough to get him some respectful questioning post-match.
The performance today with the organisation, the tactics, etc., was such a good performance, but haven't seen a lot of that from an Erik ten Hag team this season, and that is your responsibility, whoever you have on the field, is it not?
No, then you don't understand managing a football team. When the players are not there, I can't train them, I can't coach them, so they can't perform, they can't develop, and we will not get the results we want.
Trust me when I tell you that their roster was riddled by injury. But this is this is a very, very, very bad season. His job has been in jeopardy for months. And nobody held back on Saturday.
I'd be annoyed at that question too if I were him.
I don't know. It sounded like Tommy can't catch the ball and throw the ball.
I was gonna say, I wish they would have asked Darvin Ham these questions after the in-season tournament. This is basically the equivalent of the in-season tournament for soccer, the FA Cup. And
oh, come on.
It is.
Come on.
No, this is far more significant than that.
It's more prestigious, but it's the NBA pattern the in-season tournament after this.
Dude, you in this in-season tournament, you're comparing it to the FA Cup?
That is literally what they said they compare it to. That's what
that's what they're
they
shooting
want.
for.
Right.
That's not what they have.
I'm just saying, imagine if that happened to Darvin Ham. That's what happened today or yesterday.
In year 150 of the in-season tournament when they were selling out Wembley Stadium to play the final in it. That's what they did on Saturday.
So that was tense.
That was tense. But with accents, was it tense?
Not as tense when Darvin Ham was in the in-season tournament.
Everything always sounds just way more proper, unless it's like, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels type British accent. But it always sounds a lot more proper when it has that accent. Doesn't seem as biting.
I actually thought you were going to set up like this guy. This is the lamest excuse a coach has ever said. Like he should have taken accountability. He flat out said, I don't have the players. What do you want me to do?
Right. But I think... Again, I think it literally gets lost in translation that this was testy and defensive. And at one point, he also said, I'll just go win somewhere else if I get fired. But everything is so prim and proper. It just doesn't have the same heat as you'd want it to have.
But I like that idea of like a coach. So why'd you lose the series? It's my players sucked. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's funny, though. This is them asking why after he won. That's the thing.
That guy won?
But it was like the silver lining.
But the question was
the
where
FA
has
Cup.
this been for the last 9 months was basically the
like,
question.
everyone's hurt. It's basically the Tom Thibodeau is answering questions.
Yeah. The haymaker of
Did he overplay his guys in the regular season and that's why they got hurt like Tom Thibodeau?
The Josh Hart of man, what is it? Man
you. Man something.
Man down.
They actually might have an Isaiah Hartenstein. That's possible.
He's just Isaiah, though. No last names.
Right. Soccer. Can't be bothered. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
That's a lot.
You're welcome.
Very good. You still have time to weigh in on our new segment that we debuted today. It's called Old School, New School, where we put today for the first time, asked you the question, what did you like watching more?
And I got a new one. FA Cup or IST?
Yeah, we'll wait.
Can't wait.
Wait a couple months for that one to marinate. The new question for you today is, what do you like watching more?
Look up those things first. Oh, that's what that is.
Give me 6 months to get up to speed on all that.
The old IST.
Right. That was a cable network.
It's our new network.
The Infinity Sports what?
Close enough.
Yeah.
We should launch an Infinity Sports tournament and just and do something with that. Since you guys hate the in-season tournament, so we have a new IST.
And this one, we fight to the death. Okay. Our question for you, old school versus new school. What did you like watching more? Old school running backs or new school quarterbacks? Old school running backs, were you more of a Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Earl Campbell, Eric Dickerson type of person? Or do you like watching the new school quarterbacks? Do you love Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers? Let us know. 855-212-4227. You can also go vote on our poll at Maggie and Pearl on the Twitter.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Honoring Bill Walton today, the biggest fan of the Grateful Dead that existed. Passed away
Biggest,
yesterday.
like tallest?
Well, that too.
Yeah.
most enthusiastic and tallest, for sure. Bill passed away yesterday, 71 years old. He was battling cancer, and we've been remembering him. If you missed any part of the show, including Jack McCallum, the best-selling author who covered Bill Walton, covered the 85-86 Celtics, has covered the NBA for 50 years, wrote a great book about the Dream Team and 7 Seconds or Less about the Phoenix Suns. Jack was fantastic. You can always download the Maggie and Perloff podcast. If you miss it, you can use the rewind function on the Odyssey app, which is fantastic. And check us out on YouTube as well.
I love one line. Jack was talking about Luka Doncic comparing him to Oscar Robertson. One thing he said that is the funniest thing to me about these files, Luka gets these guys on his back, and it's like a little kid back. How does he do that? Where all of a sudden somebody is glued to his back and he's moving him around the court.
Yeah, like Jaden McDaniels.
Like Jaden McDaniels. But I've seen him do it to other guys too. It's the weirdest phenomenon. Luka's ability to do that. He gets past a guy and then he slows down. And then the guy's riding him all over the court.
I know.
It's bizarre. I was wondering if the Celtics have an answer for that.
Well, we're going to find out most likely because Mavs are up 3-0. Celtics have already punched their ticket to the NBA Finals, and so all the pressure on them now as they await their opponent, but we all kind of know what's going to happen. No one has ever come back from 0-3. Celtics almost did it last year. No one's ever done it.
Yeah.
I do not think this Timberwolves team is going to be the one that makes history.
I'd like to see Anthony Edwards go out on a positive note because he's all that, the Michael Jordan comparisons, that seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah. That was 3 weeks ago. Where that player is, I think he's been kidnapped Space Jam style because he's not there anymore.
You're right. I mean, different opponent. Maybe he's played now more playoff games in this run than he'd ever played in the previous years combined. Now, he's not that long into his career, but I believe he had 11 total playoff games that he had played coming into this postseason, and now he's played like 13 or something.
If they lose game 4, I'm curious because it was super cute how he used to be very frank and candid after the game in the press conference. He'd be like, yeah, we were tired. Kyrie ran right by us. Is that going to be super cute if they get swept? I wonder, because there has been some criticism. I know Draymond criticism about, like, that's not what you should say after a loss. Like, the love affair with Anthony Edwards is sort of cooled quickly.
Well, I mean, they're losing.
It's the big deal.
And he hasn't looked great. So, that's hard. And the Mavs just, not only are they overpowering them, there's something else that's happening here with Dallas where Luka and Kyrie have become the darlings now. They're laughing and smiling together. They have such great chemistry on the court now. There's something about that Luka-Kyrie dynamic, this sort of Kyrie Irving comeback, all these things that are just making the Mavericks just the story, where Anthony Edwards is just not the story right now. Okay, we debuted a new segment today. Is called Old School, New School. We're going to be doing this every day this week, a little Maggie and Perloff Old School, New School, and we'll see if this catches on. So our question today is, who do you like watching more, old school running backs or new school quarterbacks? So when we say old school running backs, you know who we're talking about. Barry Sanders. We're talking about Eric Dickerson. We're talking about Earl Campbell. We talk about new school quarterbacks. Give you a little Patrick Mahomes, a little Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, people like that. So you are welcome to vote at Maggie and Pearl. Would you like some early results?
I can guess what they are, but go ahead.
Yes. Well, you were the fan of the old school running backs.
Oh, yeah.
And you are winning this one in a landslide. 77% say they like watching the old school running backs more than the new school quarterbacks. But there's still time, and it's very early.
Well, let me ask you this, a little twist on this.
Yeah.
Is wide receiver the new old school running back? If that makes any sense, the
focal point of the offense is what we were sort of getting at,
right? But who are the highlight players? See, I think where I won this was the old school. A highlight of an old school running back is a lot more fun than a highlight of a quarterback.
I disagree. A Patrick Mahomes highlight, an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, a Josh Allen awesome play.
Yeah. But you think about a Hail Mary, like. He's just hurling it up there. The guy on the other end is the one who gets the highlight. That's why I'm saying, like, the wide receiver might be the new running back in the sense that, like, the most spectacular athletes are wide receiver, and they get the flowers sometimes. At least you really get a YouTube reel. Like, what can the quarterback do? Because he needs the wide receiver to catch it. He can throw the most perfect pass in the world. The tight end drops it, then it's not a highlight. So I just think the running back has an advantage by nature, by definition of this question.
I like the new school quarterbacks now. They're some of the best athletes in the game are playing quarterback. That was not the same necessarily back when running backs were dominating.
Like that $50 million check Kirk Cousins just got.
Kirk.
Great athlete there.
I wasn't exactly thinking about Kirk.
Jared Goff, who's getting paid this summer? Tua? It's not exactly.
Dak Prescott? Dak's a good athlete.
Dak's pretty good.
Yeah.
He slowed down a lot. If he ran more, he would get hurt. Anyway, I just think that the quarterback, they're not highlight guys like running backs are. To me, the greatest highlight reel.
Pass, this does nothing for you?
No, it's super cool. Mahomes is probably Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are exceptions, but in part because they move around so much, which that's all a running back does. And by the way, Walter Payton had a lot of passing touchdowns. Does that count for anything?
Not for this. 855-212-4227. So that's the Maggie and Perloff old school versus new school. You are welcome to weigh in on that. Also, another quick update. Are you impressed with the Celtics run to the NBA Finals? 70% of you are saying no.
How could you possibly be impressed by anything? It's not their fault, but they haven't faced anybody.
Well, but they've also been pretty dominant here. It's not like they're playing with their food and going to 6 games and 7 games with teams that are inferior. They've lost 2 games in the playoffs. Yeah,
but they did. Everything was close against Indiana, and that game 1 should have gone to Indiana. Maybe it's a different series.
You're right, but again, I think that the Celtics are being judged by something totally different here. Indiana, you can say, hey, great season. You know, you just got swept, but hey, great season. Celtics are on a totally different calculus.
The season starts now for the Celtics. Assuming it's Dallas, that is the real test. That's how anything short of a title is a major disappointment. But that being said, it is not going to be easy. This Dallas team is fully loaded, ready to go. Indiana, once Halliburton went out, forget it.
Yeah, but you know what? The Celtics are getting Kristaps Porzingis back. They get 9 days now as a layover. I mean, they're going to be super well rested.
What Porzingis are you getting back? Guy hasn't played in a long, long time.
I don't know if that matters.
I
don't.
I don't know if he's on the court in crunch time.
We'll see
I think they need. I figured out the Mavs.
You've already figured them out.
You got to go to a small lineup. You got to play small ball against them because they are experts at making your center come out and cover Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving just loves toasting slow guys like me. So I just think they need a new matchup.
The Celtics defenders are going to give much more resistance, and not that the Timberwolves are a great defensive team. They're like the number 1 defensive team, but this particular matchup hasn't been great. I think the Celtics have a lot of guys they can throw at Kyrie and Luka.
I see what you're doing here.
What's that? I'm not doing another bet.
You're trying to get another bet because you're about to go down 2-0.
I've just accepted that I'm going to be eating this disgusting, disgusting crap. It's going to be gross, and I'm going to do it right here, and you guys can all watch. Lime jello.
Tuna jello.
Oh.
Rocky Mountain oysters combined.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Bellotti, Andrew Kaplan, Andrew Bogusch, Vito's Coffee Drinkers.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.